Robert Mueller's my dad.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, July 25th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1158.
This is No Agenda.
Referring you to the reports and broadcasting live from the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where I've been reading the Mueller report, and we're in it. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Well,
by omission.
We're in it by proof that it's true by omission. Yeah. Well, how was your day yesterday? Yeah, exactly. And what a jip.
It was a jip.
It's a total jip. Actually, I have a different word for it. Cruel.
Well, there's an element of cruelty.
No. It's a big element. Robert Mueller was my dad 3 years ago, and my dad is now toast. I hate to say it. This, I was blown away. I couldn't believe it.
Well, what do us explain with more detail?
He is okay.
The fact that he looks like a corpse.
No. When you are testifying, I've seen a lot of Bob Mueller testimonies, and a lot of them where he lied a lot. But
yes, and by the way, didn't we outline a whole bunch of his kind of screwy, quote unquote wrongdoings and throwing people in jail unnecessarily or going after people that shouldn't have gone after? There's a lot of screwball stuff in this guy's background, just like Comey.
Well, here, listen to him on the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
As Director Tenet has pointed out, Secretary Powell presented evidence last week that Baghdad has failed to disarm its weapons of mass destruction, willfully attempting to evade and deceive the international community. Our particular concern is that Saddam Hussein may supply terrorists with biological, chemical, or radiological material.
Now, he's always been pretty good at reading, and he was pretty decent at reading yesterday. Whenever he read, he could get through it. But when you're testifying and you're covering things up, because that's what he's done throughout his career, and you have a whole bunch of legal things you need to think about when you're answering, your filter's got to be pretty damn active, because you have tons of filters. What can I say? What can I not say? And he basically just put one up there. Say nothing. Refer them to report.
It's the easy one.
It's beyond my purview. He actually said, I don't know, maybe twice. But this was mean. Whoever put clearly the Democrats had no idea, or most of them had no idea, that he was incapable of withstanding any type of cross-examination or any examination. Someone knew, and that's why they put the minute I heard that, he's going to have an FBI guy next to him. Why? And that was his safety.
What was that stooge doing there?
That was
Did he have a kill button?
That's
Did he have a little button that was close range?
That was his security.
Blow his head off? That
was his security blanket. That's what that was about. He, in case he completely keeled over, that guy would jump in. It was, I could not believe the answers he was giving. Here's an example.
I don't want to testify, and that's it. Don't call me, I'll call you. That's it. I don't want to testify. Oh, what was that? Aaron Burr? I knew him. Not a very nice fellow.
That's kind of what he sounded like.
Nice try.
It's
just that if we're going to go off on a tangent a little bit, let's go to this one, which really makes you wonder. And they had to cut this guy off, of course, but this is the C-SPAN call-in about Mueller.
Okay, hold on.
Cornelius, Alexandria, Louisiana. This is our Republican line. What did you think of what the special counsel had to say?
Well, I've had personal dealings with the special counsel. I don't know him personally but I turned in some paperwork years ago where I was getting death threats and stuff like that. I was a federal correctional officer at Oakdale 1, Louisiana, where they had the riot acts with the Cubans and stuff. This guy is a phony and a fraud. He's tried to destroy Trump. Now, I left the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party betrayed me, and I joined the Republican Party. But this guy is a never-ever Trumper. Robert Mueller has put innocent people behind bars. And like I said, I salute you, C-SPAN, for putting anything on that's the truth. He's tried to destroy President Trump and stuff, and the Democrats are too. Like I said, Mueller put me behind bars and put other people behind bars illegally. I'm trying to prove my case and trying to get a presidential pardon. I hope one day C-SPAN will put something on about presidential pardons and stuff.
How long did you serve for this crime, Cornelius? How long did you serve?
Well, what happened was they said I threatened to kill the warden where I worked at Oakdale 1, Louisiana. But what it really was, I had filed an EEOC complaint where they got to calling the inmates and staff the N-word, and then I got death threats and stuff. The FBI knew about it and wouldn't help me, but then they said I threatened to kill the warden at work to keep me behind bars to stop and eventually I pled guilty because they put a piece of rope in my food. So
all right, we'll let you go there. Robert Mueller was the former FBI director, took over as the special counsel.
Cut him off. Get him off the air. He's out of control. I want to make my point up front, and I'll just do it with two clips. I have more. I think you have wrap-ups and stuff, and we can. I know people expect us to deconstruct at least some of this. What happened?
What's the deconstruct?
Well,
we can deconstruct the fact that there are definitely two dimensions to this. But go on.
I'll start with a little bit of evidence that Mueller was not really a part of this entire investigation. He was the figurehead. And Louis Gohmert, I think, expressed that well with this question.
Mr. Mueller, who wrote the 9-minute comments you read at your May 29th press conference?
I'm not going to get into that.
Okay, so that's what I thought. You didn't write it.
Yeah, we didn't think he wrote it at the time either. And it's clear he didn't write any of this. And his staff was packed with shills.
Most prosecutors want to make sure there's no appearance of impropriety. But in your case, you hired a bunch of people that did not like the president. Let me ask you, when did you first learn of Peter Strzok's animus toward Donald Trump?
In the summer of 2017.
You didn't know before he was hired?
I'm sorry? What did
you didn't know before he was hired for your team?
Know what?
Sad.
Peter Strzok hated Trump.
Okay.
You didn't know that before he was made part of your team. Is that what you're saying?
I did not know that.
All right. When did you first learn?
When he did find out, I acted swiftly to have him reassigned elsewhere in the FBI.
Well, there's some discussion about how swift that was. But when did you learn of the ongoing affair he was having with Lisa Page?
About the same time I learned from Strzok.
Did you ever order anybody to investigate the deletion of all of their texts off of their government phones?
Once we found that Peter Strzok was an author of...
Did you ever...
May I finish?
Well, you're not answering my question. Did you order an investigation into deletion and reformatting of their government phones?
No, there was an IG investigation ongoing.
So he really doesn't know who was on the team, doesn't know who was brought in, why. And the question is, who was on the team and what were they doing? And what was happening, which we've looked at before, is the report had, there was exculpatory information that was removed from the report. Two questions about that.
Greg Jarrett describes your office as the team of partisans.
This is McClintock, by the way.
And as additional information is coming to light, there's a growing concern that political bias caused important facts to be omitted from your report in order to cast the president unfairly in a negative light. For example, John Dowd, the president's lawyer, leaves a message with Michael Flynn's lawyer on November 17th of 2017. The edited version in your report makes it appear that he was improperly asking for confidential information, and that's all we know from your report, except that the judge in the Flynn case ordered the entire transcript released, in which Dowd makes it crystal clear that's not what he was suggesting. So my question is, why did you edit the transcript to hide the exculpatory part of the message?
Well, I'm not certain I would agree with your characterization as we did anything to hide.
Well, you omitted it. You quoted the part where he says we need some kind of heads up just for the sake of protecting all of our interests if we can, but you omitted the portion where he says without giving up any confidential information.
So knowing that Mueller is toast and really was not a part of this report, not a part of the investigation, he was probably there when people were hired, but really it was just coasting along, doing as he was asked to do, as he's done most of his career. The next clip is a clue as to who was really in charge of this entire investigation and report.
We have to rely on your report for an accurate reflection of the evidence, and we're starting to find out that's not true. For example, your report famously links Russian internet troll farms with the Russian government. Yet at a hearing on May 28th in the Concord Management IRA prosecution that you initiated, the judge excoriated both you and Mr. Barr for producing no evidence to support this claim. Why did you suggest Russia was responsible for the troll farms when in court you've been unable to produce any evidence to support it?
Well, I'm not going to get into that any further than I already have.
But you have left the clear impression throughout the country through your report that it was the Russian government behind the troll farms. And yet when you're called upon to provide actual evidence in court, you fail to do so.
Well, I would again dispute your characterization of what occurred in that proceeding.
In fact, the judge, considered holding prosecutors in criminal contempt. She backed off only after your hastily called press conference the next day in which you retroactively made the distinction between the Russian government and the Russia troll farms. Did your press conference of May 29th have anything to do with the threat to hold your prosecutors in contempt the previous day for publicly misrepresenting the evidence?
What was the question?
The question is, did your May 29th press conference have anything to do with the fact that the previous day the judge threatened to hold your prosecutors in contempt for misrepresenting evidence?
So this is a pattern that we recognize from someone on Mueller's team. Omitting evidence that could be exculpatory, and it was, of course, never really a big news story, but we discussed it. The indictment of the 12 so-called Russian GRU Kremlin-linked spies at the Internet Research Agency troll farm. Some of them went to court who were implicated in this, or one company went to court that was implicated in this, and said, well, why don't you actually took them to court, show us the evidence. They had zero evidence. The judge got pissed off because these guys had this big indictment and were not prepared to prove anything at all. There's one guy on that team who was the lead of the report, and that's Andrew Weissman. And where do we know Andrew Weissman from? From Enron and Arthur Andersen. He did the exact same thing. He brought a sealed indictment against Arthur Andersen when they were begging and pleading, please don't do that. Arthur Andersen was the accounting firm for many Wall Street firms, top firms. And the minute you take a company that is responsible for truth in numbers, and you put doubt on them with an indictment, which I think lasted for up to 2 weeks, everyone runs away because you can't have a public company and your numbers be drawn into question. And Arthur Andersen subsequently collapsed. I think it was 60,000 people worldwide who were out of a job. The case went to the Supreme Court, struck down unanimously. This is Andrew Weissman. This is what he does. And he's been running this from the beginning. He's also Hillary's guy. He was the guy who was sitting at Hillary's inauguration party that wasn't. And that's what's going on here. And they've been exposed. They had nothing. Mueller is a figurehead, and it's done. I don't know why no one's bitching about Andrew Weissman. They could be all over the place talking about this. No one is bringing this up.
Well, if you listen to the three networks, which I did, and their coverage of their wrap-up coverage, all of them went long, up to like 8-9 minutes. They all started with pretty much the same premise, which is the very opening with the Nadler asking the question, when Trump said this, is that in the report? And Mueller said no, because it wasn't in the report per se. And then they just started then they showed a little kind of a wrap. They don't show any of the good. In fact, none of they had parts of the Gohmert, who I think NBC had part of the Gohmert clip. NBC was actually the most kind of pro-Trump, and CBS with Nora was way off the deep end, hating Trump, hating on Trump, which is what she does.
Yeah.
She hates Trump.
Yes.
And her eyes, I'm thinking maybe they shot her up with Botox or something to get her eyes to look so dead. It's possible.
Could be.
They're very expressionless. And then so ABC with David Muir was a little bit in the middle. It was still a little anti-Trump. It wasn't nobody was perfectly poised to do the report properly, but I do have the wrap here. We can listen to it. It's from ABC.
Robert Mueller walking into a hearing 2 years in the making.
Do you swear?
He was a reluctant witness, but Democrats forced him to appear, pressing him on whether the president obstructed justice.
Director Mueller, the president has repeatedly claimed that your report found there was no obstruction and that it completely and totally exonerated him. But that is not what your report said, is it?
Correct. It is not what the report said.
So the report did not conclude that he did not commit obstruction of justice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what about total exoneration? Did you actually totally exonerate the president?
No.
But Mueller did not reach a conclusion on obstruction because the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel says a sitting president cannot be indicted. But can he be charged after he leaves office?
You could charge the president of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office.
Yes.
Again and again, Democrats went back to the report to highlight the 10 incidents of possible obstruction by the president, including when Trump allegedly ordered his former White House counsel Don McGahn to fire Mueller. When the request was reported in the New York Times, McGahn said the president told him to deny it.
The president said, quote, fake news, folks, fake news, a typical New York Times fake story, end quote, correct?
Correct.
But your investigation actually found substantial evidence that McGahn was ordered by the president to fire you, correct?
Yes.
But did the president obstruct Mueller? Republicans pointed out Mueller kept his job.
Were you ever fired as special counsel, Mr. Mueller?
No.
No. Were you allowed to complete your investigation unencumbered?
Yes.
Republicans argued Mueller was out of bounds for offering examples of potential obstruction without drawing a conclusion.
You wrote 180 pages. 180 pages about decisions that weren't reached, about potential crimes that weren't charged.
Can I speak for a second?
Mueller offered a passionate defense of his team as Republicans accused them of political bias.
I have been in this business for almost 25 years, and in those 25 years, I have not had occasion once to ask somebody about their political affiliation.
Yeah, good try, ABC. You know, here was the strategy. The Democratic strategy was they split up at 5 of the 10 obstruction of justice charges. You heard each, different representatives were addressing each of them in their 5-minute period. And the leadership of, it's general across all government. They're old, and they still somehow think that you can have a session where you know what you're going to ask, which was, okay, does this adhere to the 3 parts of the statute that make up obstruction of justice? So you really couldn't indict the president because of the Office of Legal, the OLC, who said you can't indict a sitting president. Right. So they kept trying this over and over because that's the way it used to work. You could get a little soundbite from somebody. You can build a story around it, put that in the headline, put it on the news. Okay, it's good. Everyone believes what we're saying. Yeah, in the days of Dan Rather, maybe, but they're stupid. Here, Ted Lieu even tried the classic, the oldest trick in the book.
I'd like to now turn to the final element of the crime of obstruction of justice. On that same page, page 97, do you see where there's the intent section on that page?
I do see that.
C. All right. Would you be willing to read the first sentence?
And that was starting with
substantial evidence.
Indicates that the president's.
Yeah, if you could read that first sentence, would you be willing to do that?
I'm happy to have you read it.
Okay.
So Mueller wasn't all that lame because that's what it's about. Like, get the guy to say this, get the guy to say this, and then we'll have a great soundbite for on TV. And this is what, of course, he wanted him to say.
I will read it then. You wrote, quote, substantial evidence indicates that the president's effort to have Sessions limit the scope of the special counsel's investigation to future election interference was intended to prevent further investigative scrutiny of the president's and his campaign's conduct, unquote. That's in the report, correct?
That is in the report, and I rely what's in the report.
He tried to get him to say that so they'd have a great soundbite for TV. He failed in that regard, but Sorry?
I was going to say, Mueller had refused to. This wasn't the only guy who tried this.
No, Swalwell, I think, tried it earlier.
Yeah, and it was Mueller refused to do it. I think that was very savvy.
Well, yeah, he that much still worked. But Liu actually scored a huge win, which Mueller then had to retract.
So to recap what we've heard, we have heard today that the president ordered former White House counsel Don McGahn to fire you. The president ordered Don McGahn to then cover that up and create a false paper trail. And now we've heard the president ordered Corey Lewandowski to tell Jeff Sessions to limit your investigation so that you stop investigating the president. I believe a reasonable person looking at these facts could conclude that all three elements of the crime of obstruction of justice have been met. And I'd like to ask you, the reason, again, that you did not indict Donald Trump is because of OLC opinion stating that you cannot indict a sitting president, correct?
That is correct.
So there's Mueller actually saying, contrary to what is in the report, that he did not indict the president because the Office of Legal Counsel says you can't indict a sitting president. He says, yeah, correct. And then the second session, the judicial oversight hearing, before everything started, he had a statement.
And I am sure that the committee agrees. Now, before we go to questions,
the second session was the intelligence. First session.
I'm sorry, intelligence, yes. Well, here's how he started it.
Now, before we go to questions, I want to add one correction to my testimony this morning. I want to go back to one thing that was said this morning by Mr. Liu, who said, and I quote, "You didn't charge the president because of the OLC opinion." That is not the correct way to say it. As we say in the report, and as I said at the opening, we did not reach a determination as to whether the president committed a crime. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to answer questions.
So, boo-boo, rookie mistake. You got snookered into saying that, and you didn't realize it, and then someone went, oh, man, you're contradicting your own report. You got to retract that. The man was dazed and confused. It was cruel. It's cruel. Andrew Weissman, not only did he set up this whole bullcrap thing, he look, you get your swan song in America, no matter what you did. This was the saddest end for this guy. Because he's toast. He'll be dead in a few years. He's 74, John. 70. He looks 94. He acts 94. 74 is not. I mean, I'm sad for him. But come on, this.
I'll say I said at the beginning, he looks like a corpse.
Yeah. So then there were a couple.
And he walks like one too. He walks with this kind of like they had to make sure the audience didn't get up because they didn't want anyone touching him.
Yeah.
You notice that both sessions did this. As everyone stay seated, do not move. I've never heard this before, by the way. Yeah. Let the witness leave.
I think one of the most damning pieces of evidence that Mueller should not have been testifying there under any circumstances is the softball question from Democrat Representative Stanton.
Thank you, Director Mueller. I'm disappointed that some have questioned your motives throughout this process, and I want to take a moment to remind the American people of who you are and your exemplary service to our country. You are a Marine. You served in Vietnam and earned a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, correct?
Correct.
Which president appointed you to become the United States Attorney for Massachusetts?
Which senator?
Which president?
Oh, which president? I think that was President Bush.
According to my notes, it was President Ronald Reagan had the honor to do so. Under whose
My mistake.
I think there's some things you remember. If you still have a long-term memory.
I agree. You would remember that. It seems to me.
Ronald
Reagan is not Bush.
No.
And there was a lot of action in between Reagan and Bush.
So one of the big questions was not his purview.
Given your 22 months of...
This is Representative Stuba.
Given your 22 months of investigation, tens of millions of dollars spent, and millions of documents reviewed, did you obtain any evidence at all that any American voter changed their vote as a result of Russians' election interference?
I'm not going to speak to that.
You can't speak to that? After 22 months of investigation, there's not any evidence in that document before us that any voter changed their vote because of their interference. And I'm asking you, based on all of the documents that you reviewed.
That was outside our purview.
Russian meddling was outside your purview?
But the impact of that meddling was undertaken by other agencies.
Yeah, okay. Now, this was really, really bad. Really bad. Poor guy.
Well, curiously, all the pundits, the ones who took it the hardest seemed to be the Democrats. MSNBC, for example. I don't have a clip, but they were just beside themselves about what a botch this was.
I do have one clip. Here's Chuck Todd on MSNBC.
But he provided such, what do you call it, uncomfortable clarity. It would he as they were using him for clarity, he'd somehow fog it up.
But he directly,
and how he would do certain things, and so look, on optics, this was a disaster.
But he directly,
yes, Chuck Todd. It's all about the optics. That was the whole point. And they no, I don't think they knew. The Democrats did not know what state Robert Mueller is in. They hid that from them. And this is the result. They should have listened. When they said, no, don't. He's not going to testify. Don't let him testify. No. Yes, we want him to testify. They have to hear it from his own mouth.
This was the 95 Democrats, many of them on these committees, Swalwell, Nadler, the whole group of them that voted for impeachment.
Yep.
Or actually wasn't an impeachment vote. It was a vote to talk about impeachment. They voted. And if you voted yes, that means we're not talking about it. And they were on the impeachment side. And all of them were on these committees, most of them. And obviously not all of them. And they were the ones all in on this. And they were the ones that kept bringing up impeachment. Ted Lieu, for example, after the first go round was on C-SPAN. They just did one of these round, everyone comes through and they say something. He says, we have a felon in the White House. We have a felon in the White House.
I have that clip. You want to hear it?
Yeah, let's play it.
Here we go. Hold on.
That is what he believes. And what we established today in the hearing is that we have a felon sitting in the White House. Donald Trump committed multiple crimes of obstruction of justice. Now, what the American people and other members of Congress do with that, we're going to see in the next few days. But this hearing clearly established that the president ordered Don McGahn to fire him, that the president ordered Don McGahn to then cover that up and create a false paper trail, and then the president ordered Corey Lewandowski to get Jeff Sessions to curtail the investigation. And then we went to great lengths to show how all those acts met every element of the crime of obstruction of justice. That's what we established today. And then we established that he also tampered with 2 witnesses. Those are all felonies, and we hope the American people see this for what it is.
Yeah, I do see it for what it is. Thank you, Representative Liu. We don't have a felon in the White House. We have a dementia patient in the witness box. It's cruel. And the worst is when it came to Fusion GPS, who paid for and created this, who created the Steele dossier. Mueller didn't even know what it was about.
The name of that firm was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
And you're on page 103?
103, that's correct, volume 2. When you talk about the firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
I'm not familiar with that.
Let me just help you. It was. It's not a trick question. It was Fusion GPS.
I mean, that sunk it for me. Now, here's the danger.
I have one clip.
No, go ahead. I have some danger to point out. Go ahead with your clip.
Okay, let me play this is the Hurd and Trump server question I thought was worth clipping. Or Hurd, the representative.
Yeah, I got it. He's from Texas. He's a Republican from Texas.
Yeah, you're a Texas boy.
We don't call him boy anymore, John.
On April 13th, 2018, McClatchy reported that you had evidence Michael Cohen made a secret trip to Prague during the 2016 presidential election. I think he told one of the committees here in Congress that was incorrect. Is that story true?
I can't go into it.
Got you. On October 31st, 2016, Slate published a report suggesting that a server at Trump Tower was secretly communicating with Russia's Alpha Bank, and I quote, akin to what criminal syndicates do. Do you know if that story is true?
Do not. Do not.
You do not
know whether it's true.
So did you not investigate these allegations which are suggestive of potential Trump-Russia?
Because I believe it's not true doesn't mean it would not be investigated. It may well have been investigated, although my belief at this point is not true.
Yeah, it was just painful. Painful.
Now, I forgot about this one allegation. That Trump had a server up in Trump Tower that was in direct communication with the Russians and doing deals.
Yeah, but I think we
remember that. I think it was New York Times.
Well, we debunked that. It was a marketing server that was pulling in images and all kinds of bull crap.
But I do have, before you wrapped, I want to play this just because a bunch of people said, hey, you got to play this, because it's kind of like discussing our Dimension A, Dimension B. It's
right.
And I don't know why this is going on, but all of a sudden they've decided. I think this is to get Nora O'Donnell because they know that she can't do this.
You are just counting down the days until they fire her. You're all over this.
Here's what they're starting to do. Lester Holt came out at the end of his news presentation with an editorial.
Ooh.
And this is old-fashioned. This is something you used to hear with Eric Severide. This is the kind of stuff that goes back, and Walter Cronkite would do it. This goes back, and it makes it more interesting that Walter Cronkite used to do it because he's with CBS along with Nora. And that is doing a little editorial hit, very short piece at the end. And Lester Holt can do them, and he does one here. Which talks about Dimension A, Dimension B in his words, which I thought was interesting. A lot of our listeners thought it was cool. And then I know that Mueller can do them because I've seen him do some things like that. So if they both start doing these as part of the formula, because we all know the formula is copied by everyone copies each other. Nora's going to have to do one. That would be just priceless.
A final thought as we end our broadcast tonight. For 2 years, this country has marked time around Robert Mueller. His 448-page written report pleased some and disappointed others. If recent history is a guide, today's testimony will offer the same, maybe even reinforce the separate universes in which we often exist. But the matters at hand, viewed from any angle, remain too important to turn our backs on.
In other words, if you don't believe Trump's guilty, you're in the wrong universe?
No, maybe. I don't know what he's saying. He's just saying, hey, this is pretty important, even though everybody thinks they won. Although,
well, I disagree. I don't think any Democrat that I saw speaking, or certainly not MSNBC, CNN, I didn't see anyone saying they won or they did well or they got anything. They were sad.
Ted Lieu thinks so.
They were sure. No, we had the 7 hours of testimony, 3 years of investigation, 450 pages of a report, and this is what we got.
The president committed the crime of obstruction. You could not publicly state that in your report or here today.
Can you repeat the question, sir? You have to repeat that for me. Can you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah. Which act? Pardon?
Can you read the last question?
The last question was...
I want to make certain I got it accurate. I'm sorry, could you restate?
The individual is in fact obligated to provide what's being demanded by the regulation or statute, meaning you don't have any wiggle room, right?
I'd have to look more closely at the statute.
Well, I just read it to you.
And what was the question, sir, if I might?
Correct.
And where are you reading from on that?
I'm reading from my question.
Oh, yeah.
Then could you repeat it?
Okay.
Is that correct on the screen?
Can you repeat the question? Now that I have the language on the screen.
Is it correct?
What was the question?
Pardon?
Can you read the last question?
The last question was...
I want to make certain I got it accurate. I apologize.
Sure.
Can you start it again?
Okay, sure.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Attorney number 2 in the Inspector General's report and Strzok both worked on your team, didn't they?
Pardon me? Can you ask?
They both worked on your team, didn't they?
I know. I heard Strzok. Who else were you talking about?
Attorney number 2 identified in the Inspector General's report.
Okay. And the question was?
Volume 2, page 87 and 88 of your report, true?
I'm sorry, could you again repeat the question?
Admittedly, he was doing some of this, I think, to just run out the clock and just have less questions asked. You know, what page is that on? Tell me where we're going to go. This was cruel. I have one final clip just to wrap this up. There are lots of little gotchas in there. They're great examples of omissions from the report, things that are completely, were not reported on in the report, not scrutinized. But the one thing that I think you and I agreed upon was this whole idea of saying, we could not, we could not exonerate the president because
double not.
Couple knots. So Representative Turner did something very mean, but it was effective, I felt. And he said, look, did you, I clipped this down as far as possible. So for context, he begins by saying, did you write this for the Attorney General? Yeah, this is just I'm sure he said, can you repeat the question? And they said, yes, this is only internal document. This is so you didn't write this for the public at large. No. This only goes to the Attorney General, and that was a report, and that's all that it was. And then the question comes up, well, why did you use this term exonerate, which is not a legal term?
Mr. Mueller, does the Attorney General have the power or authority to exonerate? Now, what I'm putting up here is the United States Code. This is where the Attorney General gets his power, and the Constitution, and the annotated cases of these, which we've searched. We even went to your law school, because I went to Case Western, but I thought maybe your law school teaches it differently, and we got the criminal law textbook from your law school. Mr. Mueller, nowhere in these, because we had them scanned, is there a process or description on exonerate. There's no office of exoneration at the Attorney General's office. There's no certificate at the bottom of his desk. Mr. Mueller, would you agree with me that the Attorney General does not have the power to exonerate?
I'm going to pass on that.
Why?
Because it embroils us in a legal discussion, and I'm not prepared to do a legal discussion in that arena.
Well, Mr. Mueller, you would not disagree with me when I say that there is no place that the Attorney General has the power to exonerate, and he's not been given that authority. You would not.
Again, I'm not going to. I take your question.
Great. Well, the one thing that I guess is that the Attorney General probably knows that he can't exonerate either. And that's the part that kind of confuses me. Because if the Attorney General doesn't have the power to exonerate, then you don't have the power to exonerate. And I believe he knows he doesn't have the power to exonerate. And so this is the part that I don't understand. If your report is to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General doesn't have the power to exonerate, and he does not, and he knows that you do not have that power, you don't have to tell him that you're not exonerating the president. He knows this already. So then that kind of changed the context of the report.
No, we included in the report for exactly that reason. He may not know it, and he should know it.
So you believe that the Attorney Bill Barr believes that somewhere in the hallways of the Department of Justice there's an office of exoneration?
No, that's not what I said.
Well, I believe he knows, and I don't believe you put that in there for Mr. Barr. I think you put that in there for exactly what I'm going to discuss next, and that is, so the Washington Post yesterday, when speaking of your report, the article said Trump could not be exonerated of trying to obstruct the investigation itself. Trump could not be exonerated. Now, that statement is correct, Mr. Mueller, isn't it, in that no one can be exonerated? The reporter wrote this reporter can't be exonerated. Mr. Mueller, you can't be exonerated. In fact, in our criminal justice system, there is no power or authority to exonerate. Now, this is my concern, Mr. Mueller. This is the headline on all of the news channels while you were testifying today. Mueller, Trump was not exonerated. Now, Mr. Mueller, what you know is that this can't say Mueller exonerated Trump, because you don't have the power or authority to exonerate Trump. You have no more power to declare him exonerated than you have the power to declare him Anderson Cooper.
And of course, he didn't write that. He didn't write any of this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to stick. I'm with you on this. I think we're both wrong in one way, though. Mm-hmm. We may be misunderstanding the whole process. We may actually be clueless because there may be a third dimension.
Ooh.
And I believe I've captured it here in this clip. This is a CNN. This is the other C-SPAN call-in, and this guy nails it.
The vast conspiracy?
Yeah.
In Phoenix, here's James on our independent line. Good morning. Go ahead, James.
Thank you. I'm James. Now, in 2016, during the election, I was watching everything, the eastern results and the western results, and Hillary was leading all the way up until 11, 12 o'clock. Sinclair, Ari Fleischer would know. Ask this news thing. They brought it and broadcast results late to me the night of the election. There. Now I'm back. I cannot say anymore, but check into the news people. That they've done it before several times. Cut in to things. I trust C-SPAN. You guys know. Unfortunately, I've got Robert Mueller back. And please trust this. I should. I called the all others because I'm neither one, but I support you so much. I don't.
All right, let's hear from Andrew White Plains.
Oh, get him off the air. Here's the danger. It's a danger and an opportunity. Since this is a big nothing. It fell flat, and I haven't been monitoring everything this morning, so I'm not quite sure how they're trying to get out of it. But if someone were to go so far to say, we didn't realize that Robert Mueller is actually suffering from some form of disease, it could be dementia, it could be something else. We feel that based upon his testimony, based upon his appearance and his entire demeanor, there is an absolute need now to appoint a new special prosecutor to do the investigation over again. It's a big Hail Mary, but
that is not going to happen. I can assure you. First of all, they'd have to get rid of Pelosi, because she would put a stop to it, because anything, she's worse off than he is in some ways. But no, I think they're going to – Pelosi is still the leader, and she did make some commentary after. I don't have it, but she made some commentary after the event because they brought up the impeachment thing again, which is they're trying to get more numbers into that impeachment group of 91 to 95 Democrats are just all in. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, we know what we're going to have to do. This doesn't end things. We just have to do – there's a lot of investigation that needs to be done into his holdings in Russia. And so they're going to bring in finance committees and some of these other groups, and they're going to just keep this up to keep the pot boiling. That's what she said. Yes. And they're going to keep the pot boiling until the election, because it's going to – I think I spotted a couple of new tricks they're trying to do. You can't get rid of Trump because we don't have enough Democrats in, so we got to vote more Democrats in because we only have 95. Obviously, it's ludicrous because there's no way in hell that 75 senators of either party are going to vote for it. Yeah. So it's just a technique to just keep messing with Trump. And they're going to keep it up, but they're not going to do what you said. That's out of the question.
I said it's an opportunity.
No, you said it's a Hail Mary, but I don't even think they would attempt it, because that would be the eye roller of the decade.
Nothing surprises me.
Well, that would surprise me, but
nothing surprises me. These guys are crazy. Well, I don't know where it goes from here, but it sure ain't references to Mueller and the Mueller. Man, you remember how hopeful everybody was?
I hope people realize that the Mueller report, by its omission, does say that the No Agenda Show is the best podcast in the universe.
Yes, I refer you to
get lost in this discussion. I know nobody brought it up at the meeting there.
Well, it's not his purview.
True. It's true.
So
that's that. You're right. It was a fail. Epic fail.
It was cruel. Not fail. It was cruel. Cruel towards this man. And I am doing everything I can do to find as much as I can about Andrew Weissman. This is the guy. Weissman is the guy. Yeah, Weissman is the guy.
He probably is the guy. I mean, I'm going to go along with it. It makes nothing but sense, because it's obvious that Mueller was just – I didn't even know he was the editor of that document.
He wasn't nothing. He was a figurehead. He floated along, did as he was asked. Remember when he read his press statement? We were like, who the hell wrote this? He was just reading, took no questions, shuffled off stage. He could still read, and whenever he read a statement, it was good. But the minute he had to think for himself, it just fell down. So people were not informed about his capacity to be able to do this. But that's why they had the backup guy. That's why they had the FBI guy sitting right there, just in case. Oh, if he keels over, I'll jump in. Don't worry. I'll figure it out. I'll tell him what's going on.
One of the best little soliloquies was Nunes in the Intelligence Committee. After Adam Schiff spoke, Nunes spoke. He's the head of the Republicans in that group. And he had a very nice speech. And one of the and he was very, and people should go back, just listen to what Nunes has to say. It's very, very well done. I was impressed with it.
Well, he knows a lot. I mean, he's been
Nunes
all over
is
this.
on top of it, but he condemned that guy for being there.
The FBI guy. Yeah, he says, and at
why are you here?
There was one point where Mueller said, "Well, I refer to my backup here, FBI," and I forget who was asking the question, but he said, "No, if you don't mind, I'm asking you the question. You answer it." That's just cruel. Very sad to see. It's like, and it's almost as bad as, there's a Netflix documentary about Jane Fonda. I think you turned me on it. Jane Fonda in 5 parts, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
And she goes to visit Ted Turner, her ex-husband. The Ted Turner, 18 feet tall, booming guy, huge media magnate. And he has dementia, and she visits him in the desert, and he's just shuffling along. He's a shadow of his former self. That's what I saw. I saw my dad. Robert Mueller's my dad. Yes, it was cruel.
No wonder you're so emotional about it.
I am emotional about it. It was cruel to see it. Anyway, we got some late-breaking news this morning.
Several sources tell us the initial report is that Jeffrey Epstein was found on the floor in his cell in a fetal position, semi-conscious with marks to his neck. Investigators are trying to determine what happened to Epstein inside the Metropolitan Correctional Center in one of the secure areas of the jail. 2 sources say Epstein may have tried to hang himself. A third source cautioned Epstein's injuries were not serious and questioned if Epstein might be seeking some kind of transfer. This, as a fourth source says, an assault has not been ruled out, that another man in the same area was questioned. Epstein was ordered held without bail since his arrest on the sex trafficking charges. He had asked to be housed in his Upper East Side mansion with an ankle bracelet and private guards, but the judge said he was a risk of flight and a danger given the allegations he sexually abused underage girls. He has pleaded not guilty. Epstein had been housed with a former cop and accused killer. An attorney for that inmate says his client did not attack Epstein, that the two get along, and that Epstein was seen today and appears to be fine. Epstein's lawyer did not return a call for comment as the investigation very much underway at the MCC.
Now, I saw a lot of tweets saying, Clinton body count. Like, no. This is a sad little man who wants to get out. He wants to stay at his house. He doesn't want to stay in jail. They're protecting this guy. This guy is not going to die in jail. I don't even believe that he has roommates in jail, cellmates. I don't believe it for a second. He tried to strangle himself or whatever to make it look bad, and then lays down on the floor. Oh, it's so dangerous. I have to go out. No. The real Clinton body count apparently was upped one in Austin.
Ooh, Austin.
And this is a story that has been doing the rounds for the past couple of days. It comes from True Pundit, so that should tell you enough. But it's been repeated by many people.
True Pundit.
But apparently, Salvatore Cincinelli, former Wall Street broker who joined the FBI in 2010, killed himself on the dance floor at an Austin nightclub last Saturday, with a whole bunch of FBI partying with him. Immediately, they all started telling everyone to delete photos and videos off of their phones, and there was no reporting on this in any of Austin's local media. So I don't know if it's true. But
you had a murder in town, and then nobody reported in the Austin Statesman?
Very sketchy. But this is one of the guys who was investigating the Clinton Foundation. He managed the FBI's financial crimes program for the Northeast region.
Oh.
So, why is there no reporting on it? I don't know. Could it be completely bogus? Possibly. I have not seen anyone speak about it publicly. There's lots of little bits and bobs in the article, so-called quotes from people. But that's always sketchy. When he's committed suicide on the dance floor.
Yeah, well, you want to make these to be as ludicrous as possible.
Yeah,
so you can say, look, see what happened to him?
Exactly.
Look at the circumstances.
Exactly.
Who got caught for that? Nobody. It can happen to you too.
I went wake surfing with the former New York banker on Monday.
What a life.
No, you're right. What a life is when you have a friend who has a boat to go wake surfing behind. Having a boat and doing all that seems like a horrible, horrible deal. But
boats are just a real waste of money.
But we were talking about two things. One, he's a big fan of modern monetary theory. And he says, do you want proof that modern monetary theory works?
Monetary theory?
Modern monetary theory?
Yeah, modern monetary or new. Yeah.
Yeah, modern monetary. He says, just look at the Trump tax cuts. He says, nothing happened. We didn't fall apart. Everything just went on as scheduled. What, another $320 billion? He says, makes no difference. The economy the paper economy will continue to look fantastic. Everything's going to keep rocking. I'm going to see him tonight. It's his birthday, and I'm going to ask him if he thinks that we could print $1 trillion a year for healthcare for all. I think I know his answer. It's like, it does not matter. He says there's no proof anymore in modern monetary theory that just printing money will screw us. Now, it's not the same for every country. In fact, probably none other than the United States because of the infrastructure of our money. And then he went on to say, and this I thought was a big one. I was blown away. He says, Deutsche Bank finally hit the skids. I said, yeah, I know that. Duh. He used to work there. He says, a big one's going to be next. I said, really? He said, oh, yeah. There's going to be a big bank going to fail. You want to guess which one it is? Because you will not believe it when you hear it.
Okay, well, then it's not Wells Fargo or Bank of America.
No, not retail bank. Goldman. He says Goldman is in trouble.
Oh, God.
The squid is in trouble.
Well, Goldman should have been in trouble the first go-round in 2007 when Lehman and Bear Stearns went out of business. And Goldman was the third peer in that there's these companies, three major companies, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns, and Goldman Sachs were the big three of the big ones. Morgan Stanley's another one, and there's others. But when those two went out of business, and nobody believed that was going to happen, especially Bear Stearns, when you had Jim Cramer yelling and screaming on his show about, oh, Bear Stearns is fine.
Yeah. Well, apparently,
an embarrassment people can still dredge up.
Apparently, they're not so fine anymore.
Well, a lot of people at the time, hearkening back to 2007, 2008 crash, a lot of people at the time felt that Goldman should have been one to go down.
Right. Well, he says these things to me with a reason. And
just
of course,
so we can talk about it on the show.
Yeah, and if anyone knows how to make money off of that information, what?
It's long put for Goldman. It's not that hard to find.
Oh, speaking of such, did you and Andrew talk about Snap on Tuesday on the show?
No.
Oh. So, we had a couple of weeks ago, we were just playing some clips talking about
Yes.
Talking about advertising and how and what power the advertisers have, and played this clip from the CEO of WPP, the largest advertising conglomerate there is, and the CEO was going on and on and on about Snap. We think Snap is the next, it's going to be the thing, and the turnaround, and it's great, and they got new technology, and there's great partnerships, and well, I hope someone was listening.
Yeah, and I hope they donate to the show.
Because that thing went up $5. The earnings, specifically revenues, crushed it. We knew it. We heard it straight from the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. Yeah. Well, I looked and I didn't.
There's enough obscure clips that we dig up.
Yeah.
And that was an obscure clip, let me tell you.
Well, you caught it. I didn't even catch it.
Pertinent information that's valuable to people's lives in many a way, not financially being only one of them.
Yeah. Yes,
but most of the psychological is the main thing that we do.
Yeah, it's just an ancillary benefit. But I was actually thinking someone would write in with a donation saying, "Hey, I heard you guys." No, none of that.
Yeah, no.
In fact,
no, that's typical. They keep the money.
yeah, exactly. Typical. All right, what else we got?
I got a pet peeve. Oh. I'm just going to play the end of this clip. Tell me if you can figure out the pet peeve.
Hold on. It's not
named pet peeve. It's called Chance the Gator, and it's about an alligator that they gave us. They put this gator into a special facility because he was biting or something. I don't know what. But this is just the end of the report, and I want to see if you can spot the pet peeve, because this is a professional announcer. Play.
Now Chance the Snapper will call the St. Augustine Alligator Farm and Zoological Park home. The 5-foot-long reptile will be quarantined in a pool until its health is assessed.
Hold on a second. Let me hear that. I want to get your peeve right. Hold on.
Now Chance the Snapper will call the St. Augustine Alligator Farm and Zoological Park home.
The
5-foot-long reptile.
I got it. It's not zoological. It's zoological.
Exactly.
John C. Dvorak's pet peeve of the day.
Yeah, you always got to listen twice with your little peeves.
Your little peeves.
Exactly. Okay.
All right. I got a couple of things. This thing didn't come through. I see a 00 on there. I dig up some interesting stuff. If you have time for this, I want to just go. This is part of a 6-clip rundown. I only have a couple of them. I didn't put the whole thing together.
Sure.
But I want you to play this. This is Measles 1.
Okay.
Sierra Walker's death wasn't a homicide. She was just dug out of a shallow grave. She didn't fall in there playing hopscotch. Well, whoever put her in there didn't kill her. Encephalitis did.
Swelling of the brain?
Brought on by measles.
Are you sure it's measles? No signs of abuse or neglect?
No bruises or abrasions either. Her teeth weren't in great shape, but mostly from a diet high in sugars. That's it.
But measles? How does that happen this day and age?
She wasn't vaccinated.
Oh, okay. This is clearly a Lear Hollywood Foundation co-authored script. What fine series was this taken from?
This was SVU, Law and Order. Let's play Measles clip 4.
What, did my neighbors call you? Why would they do that? Because they're upset at the choices I've made for my family.
Like not vaccinating your son?
I won't put my son at risk because Big Pharma and their lackeys in the media try and jam vaccination down our throats.
Even if that puts him at risk?
What risk? He had measles 2 weeks ago, and the immune system he was born with kicked in, and now he's fine.
Well, Sierra Walker isn't fine. She's dead after being infected by your son.
Oh, man. Lock him up. Lock up her son.
Last clip, then I get my punchline.
Measles is one of the most communicable diseases on the planet. It stays in the room for up to an hour after the infected person has left. It's transmittable from up to 200 yards away.
I thought measles had been eradicated.
It was. But right now, England has a measles epidemic because people are refusing to immunize themselves and their children. And the last serious outbreak here in the early 90s led to 123 deaths in unvaccinated children.
Why would people choose not to vaccinate their children against something so dangerous?
The most common reasons are for religious beliefs or suspicion about the science behind immunization.
Is the science behind immunization faulty?
Absolutely not.
What?
Measles is totally preventable with the MMR vaccine. Not being immunized is irresponsible.
Despite any side effects from the vaccine.
There is a minimal risk, but it's more dangerous to drive a car than to take the MMR vaccine.
These were, to the day, clips from 10 years ago, 2009.
Good one. And the acting is the same as today.
The acting's just as crappy. But actually, I think it may have been worse. But this is obviously the Lear Foundation script, and this was the cycle. It's a 10-year measles cycle. They ramp up all this bull crap, and they throw it at the public as hard as they can. I could have pulled down 12 or more clips because there's a whole slew of these clips that we ran from, and these were on the show, by the way, in July and August of 2009, which is 10 years ago. And that was then, and now it's now. And
Wow, that was a good one. And they could easily do another script for the HPV vaccine, which now apparently Gardasil, that's Merck, I guess, is recommending that really everyone get the HPV vaccine for herd immunity.
What kind of herd immunity are we talking about?
I'm not kidding. They wanted this. We need to create herd immunity to HPV. Everybody, not just girls, boys, babies, old people. Robert Mueller. Everybody should have the HPV vaccine. What do you got to lose, people? It's unbelievable. That was a good one, John. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in Chance the Gator, John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning, all ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
In the morning, trolls. They're all hanging out at noagendastream.com. That's where the troll room resides. And it's not just a troll room where you can log in and troll, but you can troll shows that are live, that are being streamed live. You can chat about ones that are playing currently. I don't know. We should get a tally how many shows we have running on noagendastream.com. But it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, and good to see you, trolls. Thank you very much for being there. In the morning as well to Mike Riley. Mike brought us the artwork for episode 1157. The title of that was Carbon Captions. And this was one of his, you can pick his art out of a lineup because it's distinct. It's always very professional. It's good cartoonish drawings. And he was drawing our pissed off no agenda artist whose art was whose Mona Lisa was passed over by a 33 logo, and he's just tripping out, and it was very meta. I think you really had to listen to the show, but it was also pretty to look at. So I think it also achieves the goal of getting people to click on it, saying, "Oh, there's something there, something new," which is why we have it, which is why we consider it to be a valuable contribution.
It just cracks me up thinking about it, because this is an artist. This is the way artists think, and he knows it too. Which is, I've just contributed my Mona Lisa to the art generator, and they pick a 33 sign from God knows where. Those idiots.
And I know you saw it because you're always on noagendasocial.com. Ned took it in stride. He hates you, but he took it in stride because it's your fault, obviously.
But it is my fault.
Thanks for defending me, Adam. John's horrible. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. We really appreciate all of the work that goes into this. We use it for many things, not just for show album artwork, but for pre-streams. We use it for newsletters. No Agenda Shop has a whole business doing and actually making artist business with some of their work. So it's a great little contribution to the network. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. Thank you very much. And so no, we did not get anyone who made out like a bandit on Snap today. Looking at the donations, looks low.
Well, let's thank a few people that were associate executive producers. At least we had them.
Yeah.
Sir Anthony Trush Grinch, Baron of the Philippine.
I see Trusk Niche. Trusk Niche.
Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, he's in the Missouri, actually, 31522, Poplar Bluff. Sir Anthony Trusgnich, Baron of the Philippines here, saying, thank you for the jobs, karma. It worked, and here I am again requesting baby-making karma. Make it the goat kind. No Agenda meetup in St. Louis, by the way. No Agenda meetup. There's a list at the end of the next donation segment we'll mention.
Yep.
Add a 69 jingle and a Putin connection at the end, and I am out skis.
Out skis?
Bye.
Maybe someone can send me the Putin connection. I know exactly what it is. It's Rainbow Connection. I think Sir Chris Wilson did it. I can't find it, or it's mislabeled.
What is it?
It's somewhere I'll find it. The Russian connection.
Oh,
yeah, I couldn't find it. But I do have
69, dudes.
You've got karma.
There you go. Baby making goat karma. Doesn't get much better than that. Thank you very much to our Baron of the Philippines.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Not really.
Sir Obi-Wan of Wikipog.
Yep.
I'm guessing.
Yes.
In Wadsworth, Ohio, which is not Wikipod. Wikipod. $271.11. He'll be the associate executive producer for show 1158. Sir Joby-Wan of Wikipog here, and I've changed the spelling of my name from Joby-Wan, so it's easier to pronounce at first glance, just like the guy from Star Wars. Adam,
yes.
Can you lie up a couple of butt slams, some pew-pews, a Rosie Nyen mashup, and pregnancy goat karma from? Well, hold on a second. We have two executive producers, and two of them asked for the exact same goat karma for baby making. I'm an old millennial, 36, and watch with closed captions on because I grew up with a deaf sister and I learned to ignore it. However, it became useful when shows like Modern Family and The Office started having people whispering key plot points or jokes that you'd completely miss without it.
Yeah, interesting. But I've received more email about the closed captions than anything else this week.
I want to say something. We stumbled. When did this start? You found this. You've discovered this at the house there. You kept seeing this.
The millennial. The
millennial
stepdaughter.
Yeah. Well, it seems that I think this is a big deal.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it is. There are some articles, maybe one or two. I think Wired has done a little piece, but everyone has different reasons, and a lot of it is. Oh, here's one I hadn't heard. It's because we all grow up watching anime. So, all right, my millennial doesn't watch anime. It's from something else. Whatever it is, there's different reasons. I still think there's an auditory processing issue at hand.
You might be right about that.
Oh, really? You're coming back to my side. You were saying it had to be...
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking it's just deaf from going to too many rock concerts because people don't understand ear protection anymore.
No one goes to rock concerts anymore, John?
Yeah, they do. They go to little bars. It's worse.
Yeah.
They go to small bar scenes. They're not a rock concert.
Okay.
But they go to small bars that have loud bands.
All right, so we're saying maybe that's not it, which is what I was saying. I think they can't process it anymore.
It's possible. All right, let's finish the note here.
Yeah, all right.
So he says, however, it became useful when the shows like Modern Family and Office started having people whispering key plot points. I've never had this problem hearing these people whispering key plot points.
Well, again, there's a lot of issues with audio setups, with people using Bluetooth sound bars. There's tons of problems that could be introducing these issues. And I think at some point it's just lazy. We're just, all right, I got other things to do. I'm looking at things. I want to catch up. It's multitasking, whatever it is. I'm actually reading this book about how the internet is changing our brains. There's a lot going on. We still have tailbone, so I don't think we know exactly what's happening. Now, I digress.
Onward.
Yes, onward.
John, as right as you usually are. I'm sorry, I had to read that again.
Yes.
John, as right as you usually are. There you go. That's better intonation. You're pretty brave sticking with this Hillary 2020.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still sticking to it. And I will say, I want to bring in another variable. Somebody pointed out to me that when Bill ran in 1992, he stayed out of the race. There was everybody who's this guy's going to run, that guy's going to run until October.
Oh, right before the election, you mean?
No, before October the year before.
The year before. Okay. All right. Well, we're in a very early cycle here, so there's no reason for...
So October, it beckons, and she can still jump in. So until after, if it's November, then I'll pull her. But right now she's on.
Then she's out. Okay. Okay, good.
He continues with, she couldn't beat a loudmouth, egomaniacal, non-political real estate mogul, even with the sheepish group think of our population centers and Google's algos on her side. She had everything going for her and still couldn't win. Even though nobody wants her, I want this for you so you can avoid the embarrassment of another Jeb Bush incident. Please clap. Also,
please clap.
The word that makes the most sense in your cataract analogy from the last show is extrapolate. You're interpolate when something is inside the realm of known data. So if your eye was interpolating something that was blurry, it would fill in the blanks with normal data, i.e. two-armed tennis player. If your eye added a third arm to Serena Williams, that would be an example of extrapolation, your eye filling an image that is outside of the boundaries of normal data. I will look into these definitions.
Yes, I think
you guys keep kicking.
I think you just got to microdose a little less. That's my thought.
You guys keep kicking ass and keeping us producers sane. Maybe a Northeast Ohio meetup. Ohio gets a bad reputation, but it's extremely cheap living. And for the most part, we still have a very balanced constituency. People can still disagree with each other without rioting in the streets.
Oh, just wait for it.
Yeah, you get it. It happens later. And now, Nick V. from Medina is a douchebag. I love everything the show's about. I'm very happy about the meetups I've taken off like they have. I can't wait for my first one. Your faithful slave, Sir Jobiwan of Weekapog.
Whoa, you got butt slam! Ho, ho, ho,
You've got karma.
And we finally have our last associate executive producer. We got 1 and 2. Anonymous, $200. Anonymous, please, hello. And been a douchebag for a while. My brother Andrew hit me in the mouth in the media news dissection you perform is fantastic. I've sent emails back and forth with Adam recently regarding the state of police work in America, and it's almost as though there's a concerted effort by the powers that be to have an anti-law enforcement position bordering on a lawless society. That's the local DAs that have been placed in
by Soros, the Soros sisters.
Soros sisters.
Yep.
One of my, and this is going on everywhere. One of my usual encounters at work is African American people screaming at me while doing my job and saying, "We are killing them." When I tell them there's been approximately 2,500 shootings, 600 murders in this city, and the police only account for approximately 25 and 6 to 10 murders every year, I get puzzled looks. It's almost as though there's been someone propagating the lie to them and almost creating a more hostile interaction because now people are thinking this way could be legitimately, or people thinking this way could legitimately be afraid for their lives when encountering the police and making things more dangerous for both officer and citizen when tensions rise. Thanks for everything you guys do. From Slow Draw McGraw.
You know, this has been going on. What we're seeing now, and you probably saw the videos from New York City where people are just throwing water at the cops, dumping water. Have you seen this?
No.
In New York City, in Brooklyn, in Harlem.
What are they throwing water on cops for?
Because so the cops are there, they're doing a traffic stop. One cop's doing a traffic stop, and the residents just come out and just have buckets full of water and start throwing it on them. Why? Is because it's fun and the cops can't do anything. And the cops just stand there, get doused, and then they slowly walk away to their car and they drive off. It's happening everywhere in New York.
What is wrong with those people?
Well,
they don't want cops around their neighborhood? Is that the idea? Well, that would be fun to watch.
Well, remember that Mayor de Blasio continuously tells people how dangerous the cops really are because he has a black son, remember? And so he keeps saying, oh, no, the cops are dangerous. And it's but this has been brewing for a long time with any type of first responder. Bad Chad there in Boulder, Colorado. He's an EMT. He's helping someone, who's been shot or has some other medical emergency, and the crowd around him will start to taunt him and throw stuff at him. Just because you have a uniform, it's like now you're just horrible. And you've got to see some of these videos. It's mind-boggling. The restraint that these law enforcement officers are showing is astronomical. And this is a societal problem that needs to be addressed. It'll be addressed one way or the other, I'll tell you, but it ain't going to be pretty.
No, this is subversive. Again, it's the Soros sisters and the other things going on with the district attorneys in the various cities.
I think you're right.
It's not important. It's not important. So, hey, this guy just broke my window of my car. Yeah, don't worry about
gives
it.
A shit. Nah, it's not a problem.
And he stole something from the car. Nah, so what? That's what goes on in San Francisco right now. The cops have to ignore it.
But, the Black Lives Matter movement, not so much the Black Lives Matter movement, but the media attention around it and the blatant statistical lies that were told has given the impression that cops kill black people and that they're doing it for fun. And then they're racist and they just want to go out there and kill black people. That's what people have been told over and over and over again. And now you see, and the videos that I've seen, predominantly black residents doing this, throwing buckets at the cops, empty bucket at his head. And the cop just, okay, well, just all right, and he just walks away, gets in his car, and drives off. And this goes back to the 90s when I was in New Jersey and I'd work out with Officer Bob and Kenny the fireman, and he said, I go to save someone in East Orange, which is a hellhole. Go to save someone.
Is this the Dinkins era?
No. I'm not that old. No.
Dinkins it doesn't go back to Ed Koch or anything.
No, Rudy Giuliani cleaned everything up. I don't know what he did with everybody, but they threw him in the East River. But this was East Orange, New Jersey. It had nothing to do with New York.
Yeah, I always felt the whole thing was an area-wide problem, but go on.
No, tri-state area, I'm sure. But, he go and save someone from a burning building, and the refrigerator is booby-trapped. It's blowing up in his face. People are crazy. No. Anyway. Yeah, so I feel for our anonymous donor. It sounds like he or she is a law enforcement officer. And the statistics have been skewed, and the media has done a huge disservice to the citizenry at large for propagating really what are lies. Now, are there cops who are racist? Sure. There's lots of racism everywhere, of course. Now, the cops that are trigger happy. Oh, by the way, one of the rookie cops who got the water thrown on him is Asian, which is different in America, I need to point out. When you say in America Asian, we think of Chinese, we think of from the Far East. When you say Asian in the UK, it means Muslim. Just so you know. Pakistani typically, but that's just their word for Muslim.
South Asian.
Yeah, yes, but they say Asian, and you got to know what you're talking about. Anyway, it's very bad trend. Very, very bad trend. It's just going to get worse. It's great policies.
Yes. Well, on that note, I want to thank the associate executive producers and executive producers for producing Show 1158.
Yes, thank you. It's always a little bit disheartening when you see everything's, just this. Not so much the numbers, but the amount of people donating. That's just low. I can look at the spreadsheet it comes in, like, there's just not a lot of lines on that spreadsheet. But these people did help us out. These are real titles that they can use. So Sir Anthony can use this. Of course, he's already a baron, but he can now proudly display he is the executive producer of episode 1158 of the No Agenda Show. And Sir Jabuan and Anonymous can claim the associate executive producership. And you can use those titles everywhere. They're valuable. They actually do work, help people get work and jobs. And it sounds like Anonymous may be looking for a different job soon. And we'll be thanking more people, $50 and above, in our second segment. Again, thank you for supporting the program, a valuable element of our value for value system. There's no advertising, no corporate money. It's all you. It's your podcast. You're the producers. And we'd like you to support us for another trip around on Sunday.
Dvorak.org/NA.
I think we've clearly shown you everything about the Mueller report, what you need to know. You need to go out and propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
Order. Shut up, slave. Shut up, slave.
Before we veer too far off, I do have a Truth Wants to Come Out clip.
Ooh, always a favorite.
Always a favorite, especially for you. And this is Rod Rosenstein, who I didn't know is married to an Armenian woman, and he's giving a speech before the Armenian Bar Association.
Who is Rod Rosenstein again?
Rod Rosenstein is the guy that was the acting attorney general who hired Mueller.
Oh.
Hello?
That guy. Well, I'm just asking to make sure we all know. If I don't remember, who will?
Well, you do remember.
Uh-huh.
So here he is. He's the cocky guy that was behind when Barr came out to give his speech, and he was this guy standing there on the right, just stone-faced. So he gives this speech, and this is a good one.
But no organization with 1,000 employees is error-free. Nonetheless, we have serious professional internal watchdogs. We investigate credible allegations of wrongdoing, and we punish mistakes. We punish wrongdoers, and we correct mistakes.
Wait a minute. We punish wrongdoers and we correct mistakes?
He says, with the truth trying to come out, we punish mistakes.
Hold on. Let's listen to that.
But no organization with 1,000 employees is error-free. Nonetheless, we have serious professional internal watchdogs. We investigate credible allegations of wrongdoing, and we punish mistakes. We punish wrongdoers, and we correct mistakes.
Yeah, good catch. I love it when that happens. That's usually funny.
We punish mistakes.
So Colbert announced with glee that his old boss and buddy Jon Stewart was successful. I would like to remind everybody that the legislation that passed was the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. It goes towards descendants for the next 70 years. Lots of people, but the vast majority is descendants of those deceased. And the way the numbers were calculated was based upon your general income at the time of that you were injured or contracted cancer or any of these other issues that are now associated with 9/11 in New York. So if you were making, say, $40,000 a year as a first responder, you'll get a multiple of that for a multiple of years, or your descendants will. If you were a hedge fund manager, you were making $1 million a year, you'll get a multiple of that. So it seems kind of unfair, or I don't know, maybe Wall Street guys are just worth more at life in general. But of course, the misnomer continues.
But before we do that, I found out just a little while ago, this afternoon, that you guys know the 9/11 first responders bill that's been languishing in Congress for years. It just passed this afternoon. Yeah, just got through. Finally, it secures. What's great about this bill is that it secures for the first responders who rush down to those burning towers funding through 2092. And so they're taken care of until 2092. And of course, in 2093, Mitch McConnell will have to reauthorize it. The vote was 97-2, with only Mike Lee and Rand Paul voting themselves into the dustbin of history. And
you see how programmed people are?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I know it's pathetic.
And so they all believe now, well, no one has an idea. Of course, it was continuously promoted as the first responders bill, but it's not. It's not. It's for all victims. And in fact, I think it's kind of racist. This whole thing is racist. I mean, if you were in the towers or you were a first responder, I can tell you most of the first responders, the majority were white or white-skinned. If you were Katrina, you're black. You don't get any money for the rest of your life. Ha, 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 even though that was a government mess up. Now, there's tons of things that happen to people. Shitty things happen to lots of people. But for some reason, we need to be paying for this for the next almost 100 years.
It's probably to benefit a few. I think you may have stumbled onto it just in your normal analysis. It may be just a kind of a relief fund for stockbrokers.
Well, and again, the big issue at the time yes, it ran out, but Colbert kind of makes it sound like they never got any money. No, the money has been going out for quite a while. The fund is empty, $7.6 billion that we know of, but the Los Angeles Times says actually $38 billion has already been paid. But at the time that this started up, it was about people suing the airlines, and that the airline industry would be sued out of existence. And if you sign this, if you sign on to the Victims' Compensation Fund, then you cannot sue the airlines or anyone else. So you sign an agreement for that. So who knows? Who knows? But it just doesn't seem fair. But if you call it first responders bill and they were getting screwed, I guess then it's fair. Then all of a sudden,
yeah, but that's not what it was.
But at the same time, the first responders are getting water thrown on them in New York. So I don't know. I'm very confused about the state of the nation.
Make up your mind. What do you want?
Damn it.
Hey, I found a clip.
Okay.
I want you to put this clip into the evergreen bin.
Okay.
We talked about this when the Me Too movement first began.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the clip from Eliza Schlesinger, the comedian, talking about it's okay to be sexually harassed if the guy's good looking.
Yeah, the comedienne.
The comedienne.
Comedienne, yes.
Well, they call themselves comics.
Which is actually something that I want to restate, that when the Me Too, the hashtag Me Too came around, you had a couple of examples. I think we talked about, it was your beat, saying that, yeah, it's never a problem when the guy harassing the woman is a hot guy. I won't say never, but typically.
Right. And here's an example.
Being sexually harassed is the worst. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Being sexually harassed by an ugly guy is the worst. If he's hot, it's just plain old flirting. No one's ever been like, get away from me, you model. Like, that's fine.
Now, why do you bring this up again?
Well, because I was proud of myself for finding it. It's the only reason.
You are the Bob Mueller of clips.
Just keep digging and digging. I found it.
All right, I got a pet peeve. This one really pissed me off. I despise abusing children for any kind of political issue. Greta Thunberg is, in my mind, an abused child who is being propped up. She has medical issues. Who's being propped up to promote the Green New Deal and climate crisis, etc. Always bringing in children, always over the backs of children. Ugh. The New York Times did one of the
disgusting.
They did something really disgusting. They did a video of American citizens of the country, I presume, and they're aged between 5 and I'd say about 12 or 13, and they had these children on video read notes, apparently notes from children who are in the Donald Trump ripped away from your mother cages drinking from the toilet children. Now, do I for a second believe that these are the actual notes from these children? No. But this is what they created. And this is just a short piece of this whole 6 minutes.
We came to the U.S. because there were people who wanted to hurt us.
I'm hungry here at Clint all the time. I'm so hungry that I've woken up in the middle of the night with hunger. I'm too scared to ask the officials for any more food.
There isn't water or soap to wash our hands after we use the bathroom. We have to ask for toilet paper if we want any.
My sister and I hold a blanket up for one another so no one can see us go to the bathroom. I am 5 years old. I am from Honduras. I am 7 years old.
I am
from El Salvador.
Asian separated me from my dad. I have not seen my father again.
I was wet when I got here and was placed in the cage without being given dry clothes.
It is so cold. I was shaking so hard. I'm the third teenage girl who has tried to take care of this little 2-year-old boy. I feed him and give him water. I also take care of another little kid. She calls me Mama. She is 6 years old.
There is no room to move without stepping over the others. We were not given a mat to sleep on, so we had to sleep on the cold concrete floor. The lights are on all the time.
We cannot sleep because every 15 to 20 minutes, the guards are yelling something. Get up.
We spent all day and every day inside of that room.
There are no activities, only crying.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
Unbelievable. So not only do I not believe this, they've now traumatized 20 other children into believing how horrible, and I'm sure it's no picnic, but this is not the way to go about doing these things. I mean, it's despicable. You know what? Maybe we're stupid. We're stupid, John. No, we're dumb.
They don't see it that way.
Yeah, we're dumb.
Are? Okay.
Yeah, we need to have children asking for donations on our show.
Ooh. I'm liking it.
Please, Adam and John, they have to sleep on the cold floor.
We have a number of, we have plenty of talent out there that can record a few ditties for us. Children begging for money for the No Agenda show because it's horrible how
it's
bad
horrible
things
how
are.
bad things are. Exactly. So if we're just not
stumble on, this is it. We could actually start an ad agency.
Exit strategy. Woo! That's it. Our exit strategy. Yes,
an ad agency, but a bunch of very talented, erudite kids.
This is a great idea.
Yes.
What would we call it? Kids for Cash? Or
it sounds like Cars for Kids. It sounds a little too much.
It doesn't. Oh no! Don't sing it. Don't sing it. It'll be in my head for the rest of the week. No. Don't do that.
Well, we could use a jingle too.
Yeah, we need.
Yes, we're going to do this. This is where we're going.
This is a great idea. And then
auditions are underway.
And then the newsletter, you can do it with crayons. I'm sure it'll work. Clearly, this is the way to go. And for those of you who are childless, if you can do something cute with your dog, that's fine too. We'll take it. We'll take whatever you can get. There's some interesting developments in California, in San Diego specifically, regarding the e-scooters.
Annual Comic-Con was a big hit in San Diego over the weekend.
But after it was over, the cleanup crews, they needed to move more than 2,500 electric scooters.
Wow.
Look at that. Just blocking wheelchair ramps, sidewalks, busy downtown streets. The city's imposing a $65 fine for each abandoned scooter, and that's adding up to more than $200,000 for the companies, including Bird, Lime, Lyft, right here, what we have in LA.
Everybody's getting a fine.
I know. The companies have until the end of the month to pick up the abandoned scooters and pay those fines. I don't know why there wasn't a plan in place.
Well, there's more going on with these in the San Diego area, specifically Pacific Beach. Two guys have come up with a great scheme, and if it's one that it would be a great exit strategy. They now go around to any resident or any business. There's a couple hotels, anywhere that these scooters, because the way it works is the scooters are just left laying around. It's illegal to leave them in the middle of the sidewalk. There's designated parking spots for them. If you don't put them in the designated parking spot, or in front of a wheelchair ramp or a business's door, they are effectively parked illegally. And by law, just as if someone parked illegally in the parking garage, you can have them towed. So these guys are going around. They wherever a scooter has been left illegally, they pick it up, they register the number, they impound it, they take it to their tow yard, and they charge Lime, Bird, Lyft, Uber, Razor, all these companies $30 pickup fee and $2 per day for housing. And it's working, and there's no legal recourse. They're making tens of thousands of dollars a day doing this. Bounty hunters, basically.
I like it. This is what tow truck guys do.
It's exactly, yes, the repo man.
Oh, this is a lot easier.
Are you kidding me? This is a business.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wasn't a podcaster, I'd consider doing it in downtown Austin. I mean, this is money in the bank.
Yeah, you'd have way you would do it to be on the safe side. You make sure the thing is violating. You take a picture of it, and then you'd record the number, and then you throw it in the truck.
Right.
And then you go to the next one and do the same thing over and over again. You pick up you could probably pick up 100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
That's $3,000 a day in fees right there.
Yes, I'm telling you, this is a moneymaker. These guys are raking it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now,
Smart.
of course, the companies are trying to sue. They're trying to sue them, which they do anyway. But the law needs to be changed, which they can't do. I mean, this is property rights. You park your stuff on my hotel driveway, done. It's impounded. I'm taking it away. You park it illegally on the sidewalk, done. Take it away. And they have a little app, and they take a picture. They actually have a little citation, a little write-up that immediately goes off to the owner, which is one of these companies. It's genius. That's America, baby.
Yeah.
We fight back. We fight back in mysterious ways. I love us for that.
Sounds very workable anywhere.
Yeah. Precisely.
Especially, it's probably mostly workable in towns that are plagued with these things, and that would be San Diego, Austin, San Francisco.
Yep.
San Francisco, not so much, because San Francisco's a hilly town, and so you can really only have certain areas where they're usable.
Yeah.
So we don't see too many of them in San Francisco, but they are in Oakland and a few of them in Berkeley, but nothing like what you guys have.
Oh, it's a mess. And now our mayor wrote an op-ed, Mayor Adler. He said, well, really, we need affordable housing. That's going to solve it here in Austin. The homeless situation, the homeless. They need affordable housing. And of course, this is a lie, because the affordable housing, if you create affordable housing, the people who live in it will be the ones gentrifying Austin, i.e. the underpaid, low-value tech workers. There's no tech worker here of high value. These are the people that are, the people jobs are all in the cheap state of Texas, particularly for labor. They will be the ones moving into the affordable housing. As we've discussed many times, the people on the street, that's where their life is. Their life is, in general, drugs, and drugs are on the street. How many examples are there? You give someone affordable housing, you put them up, you put them in a house, and within a few months they're back on the street. But I realized something in this op-ed, that the whole homeless, or as the mayor kept writing, people experiencing homelessness, is a misnomer and bullcrap. They are unhoused. The word home, nowhere in the definition of the word home does it equate a structure or a house. This is why we say home is where the heart is. These people have homes. It's under I-35. It's in the bushes in the encampment. They have homes. It's houses they don't have. You ever think about that?
You've brought this up before, and it's one of those things that
I don't think I have.
You mentioned, yes, you have. You have brought this exact same issue up before.
Oh,
recently.
I'm taking a Mueller. I'm taking a Mueller.
You're taking a Mueller. A couple of shows ago, you brought it up. And the fact that you asked me, do I think about this? I can say no.
Great, thanks. And onward, we move on.
It's nothing I think about.
I got an interesting note from one of our producers. He said, well, you know, really, we need affordable housing. That's going to solve it here in Austin. The homeless situation, the homeless. They need affordable housing. I'm going to bring it up here. He said, Adam, I'm a bit behind on the podcast, but I believe you said in the last 3 episodes that AOC hates America during the discussion bit about her testimony / questioning of the Department of Homeland Security director. This is the first time I've ever gotten that vibe that No Agenda is biased or Trump apologists, and I'd like to know why you said it. AOC from that clip was indeed a dumbass, and she's questioning the guy and has no idea what to do if he didn't answer with what she was expecting. But how do you draw a conclusion that she hates America? And so instead of disregarding this momentary Mueller moment I just had, I said, I'm pretty sure I have never said she hates America. It's a Republican talking point. I've heard it on Fox News a lot. But so I sent it back. I said, please send me a time code because I need to know. Because if true, then I am susceptible to these talking points and they're creeping in, and I can't believe I said it. Well, he comes back and he says, well, no, yeah, I went and listened. It was actually from a clip. Someone else on the clip said it. And I was shopping at the time. I was listening, so I didn't have my full attention. It sounded like it was a comment that you stated on your own, given the tone. It seemed to be your angry tone rather than your mocking tone. And then he goes on to say, I only consume media through Reddit top posts and No Agenda. This should mean that I've never heard this quote outside of No Agenda. No. This is rampant on Reddit. And this is what happens. People start seeing and hearing things.
Yep.
And I want to bring your attention to it because when you're not focused, this is very disturbing that these talking points work.
And this is not the first example of this.
Do you have another example? Or?
No, I don't, because I wasn't expecting it. But we've had this happen before. We've had letters with people back and forth. I never said that. Yeah, you did. No, well, then give me a time code that they can't find it.
Yeah, exactly.
This is not uncommon.
It's just surprising how deep these talking points go.
You've done it yourself with the Israeli moon bases, by the way.
Well, hello. Don't get me started because, don't get me started.
Okay, I don't want to get you started. I want you to finish your thought, which was this is disconcerting because...
It's disconcerting with a T.
Yeah. Did I say concerning?
You say it a lot.
I do say disconcerting.
And I don't think that's a correct word.
No, I said, but the T is silent. It's in there.
There's no N near the T in disconcerting. Horrible. Well, I just want to bring people's attention to it because these talking points, they really do seep in. And I don't think it makes a difference if you're watching whatever outlet, but particularly Reddit. I mean, that's a cesspool of talking points. So just be careful. Be on the lookout for the talking points. Maybe we should do a talking point segment from time to time so we can just point them out, what these talking points are.
I think that's all we do.
Yeah, but identify it as such so people can arm themselves against them.
Well, I don't know if you can arm yourselves against good ones, especially if they turn into memes.
Well, we're pretty good at...
It's like Adam and... Adam. It's not like Adam. It's like... Scott Adams and his one, he figures as a victory that they debunked the Charlottesville bad people on both sides.
Yeah, right.
And it just does not.
It doesn't stick.
Gone nowhere.
No, it can't. It can't because it's in the history books forever.
Yeah. And there's a number of these that we fight on this show constantly.
Okay.
We fight the red line, the stories about the gassing of the Syrians.
Yeah.
Canisters that couldn't have possibly come from the Syrian army are still credited to them. Oh, they gassed their own people. That's useless. You might as well. What's the point of fighting that? It's not going to ever change anything. But you see it keeps getting repeated. And let's go into something else that's going to be history very shortly because everyone's going to believe this. This is from season 2 of The Good Fight, which is on CBS Access. It's a spinoff of The Good Wife, and because it's on CBS Access, which is kind of like a cable channel for CBS, and they play dramas and things that they wouldn't get on the network because they're not good enough, or they're off the rails. Mm-hmm. Let's start with CBS, with A Good Fight 1.
You think you're being deported for political reasons?
Mr. Trump, he doesn't want me here. He sends me back to Russia, they will kill me.
Who will kill you?
Putin.
Because of this tape? The,
PP tape.
So your accusation is that you were videotaped urinating for Mr. Trump in a Moscow hotel room?
Suite.
Excuse me?
Hotel suite.
You urinated on the bed where Obama slept?
Yes.
What?
But I did not know who slept there. Then Trump, he peed on us.
Oh, my God.
Julius.
I am not political. I have no issues with American politics. I only wish to stay in America. I want to stay in school.
What are you studying?
Hotel management.
Wait a minute. This is a recent television show episode?
Season 2 is from last year.
Oh, my goodness. How come you didn't catch it last year?
Well, I don't watch shit like this.
Well, you know what you get for shit like this is a big old COTD. Clip of the day. And I'm afraid you have more.
I am fortunately do have more. Now, the way the story goes, I'm going to tell you the story as it goes. This woman comes in. She wants to get she's going to be deported for getting a traffic ticket or beating somebody up or hooking.
But she peed on the bed for Trump.
And she realized that she's being deported because of that. So she peed on the bed. And Trump, by the way, peed on the bed, too, if you listen to that clip.
Well, I'm sorry. Stop. No. I demand a replay. It was so good.
You think you're being deported for political reasons?
Mr. Trump, he doesn't want me here. He sends me back to Russia, they will kill me.
Who will kill you?
Putin.
Because of this tape? The,
PP tape.
So your accusation is that you were videotaped urinating for Mr. Trump in a Moscow hotel room?
Suite.
Excuse me?
Hotel suite.
You urinated on the bed where Obama slept?
Yes. But I did not know who slept there. Then Trump, he peed on us.
Oh, my God.
Julius.
I am not political. I have no issues with American politics. I only wish to stay in America. I want to stay in school.
What are you studying?
Hotel management.
That's a funny line, by the way.
Yes,
what
of
he's
course.
studying hotel management. Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
So they go to they think it's Project Veritas, then they verify that it's not. And so they're looking, and they verify through this scene. This is where one of the researchers from the law firm go over to kind of look at the garbage and spy on the woman, thinking that they followed her. And she went home. She didn't go to Project Veritas, and she has nothing to do with Project Veritas. She gets caught in the hallway with the garbage, and now we bring a new character in. We have the Russian girl whose roommate is Miss Haiti.
After our meeting, I followed Miss Sokoloff, and she didn't go to Project Veritas. She went home.
And did this surprise you?
No. What surprised me is her roommate is Rochelle Dabrazil, Miss Haiti, from a previous year. She says she introduced her to Trump at the after party, and there was no camera in her purse.
How much of this is true?
That's the thing. The story's checking out.
Miss Haiti, the same country Trump called shithole.
Oh, man! Oh, this is fantastic. Oh, wow. Okay. Don't tell me you have more.
Oh, yeah. There's two more.
No.
I know. They're bringing everything they can. They're dumping every bullshit meme they can dump into the storyline as though it's all true. And so they bring an FBI person in to try to see if this girl's telling the truth, and then they have this FBI discussion. But before they do that, they bring in a Democrat strategist about what to do, because they're going to get a hold of this tape, by the way, and all watch it. So it does exist. So anyone watching this show probably believes this,
Yeah.
It's existing because they're showing it.
Yes, of course.
They bring in a Democrat strategist, and I think this is the funniest part of it, because the Democrat strategist poo-poos the whole thing, saying it'll be just a short part of it. And this Democrat strategist is so reasonable. It's beyond belief.
Let's say your client talks to reporters about this golden shower tape. You might win one news cycle. You might, if you're lucky. But the stories will be about how desperate the Democrats are. We'll be seen as the ones scraping bottom, becoming the dirt mongers. Tony Perkins will give Trump another mulligan. Jerry Falwell Jr. will blame the media, and everyone will move on to the next.
Ms. Eastman, this is not about morality. This is about the Republicans, the Russians, using this tape for blackmail.
Yeah, that sounds good. But we all know it's bullshit. It's about embarrassing the president, and it will be a blip. I know this is hard, but let it go.
Wait a minute. Is this on network television?
I'll repeat. This is on CBS Access.
Oh, okay.
CBS Access is a separate network that they run on cable and over the internet for you to click on and subscribe to. And there's a bunch of shows on there. That's where you get the Star Trek show. This whatever that one was. They're going to bring a new Picard Star Trek on. It's going to be on CBS Access.
It's called Star Trek The Flasher.
And it just seems to be there is going to be – so they put a bunch of shows like this on this little mini network, which is the same. I think some of these shows are network quality, well, except for the writing.
No, this is that is the example of network quality writing. That's fantastic.
And so they run these shows on this, hoping to, I don't know what the point of it is, but CBS Access is a little mini network of shows, including some of the main shows they put over there too. You can also, when you subscribe to I think it's $6 or $8, whatever it costs, you can get these things. Nobody's watching this stuff because I don't think anybody's watching any of it. That's why I took forever to find out about this. Jeez. So here is what happens now. This is the last clip. This is, they bring her into an FBI woman who grills her. They grill her and they say, "What color is your hair?" And the lawyer goes back in afterwards and asks the FBI person, who is played by the actress Jane, who always plays lesbians. Very good actress, fun to watch.
Oh, from yes,
Jane.
With the short hair.
Yeah, the short hair Jane.
Yeah, Jane. Yes, Jane.
She is the FBI agent, and they go back and say, "Why were these questions so specific?" She says, "Well,
Jane Lynch."
Jane what?
Lynch. Jane Lynch.
Yeah, Jane Lynch.
Thank you,
Jane
Bobo.
Lynch.
Yeah.
So they have like people there, that are. I mean, it's a good show, except for the story. So they bring her, and she says, "Well, do you know anything? How do you ask these specific questions about hair color?" He says, "You've seen the tape." So in other words, they reintroduce into the storyline the fact that this tape exists. It's floating around. The FBI has a copy. And by the way, after this clip, I'll explain how the story ends. And so Lynch goes on and explains, it kind of clarifies things a little bit.
Excuse me, Miss Starkey.
Yeah.
You've seen the tape?
I'm sorry, what?
Your questions. That kind of specificity. You've seen the golden shower tape.
Well, I haven't seen the tape, but we have received enough chatter to know what's in it. And there were 2 blonde hookers, not brunettes. And Mr. Trump had just finished in-room dining, so your client's lying.
Oh my goodness, that's
okay. So we're introducing Trump's eating room service, and then he pees on the bed. I mean, come on, by the way, who's going to stay in a suite with one of the beds covered with stinky pee? I mean, really, let's be honest about this.
Well, now he may be into that. You don't know. I mean, there's
Yeah, we do know. If you would think we'd have some indication, but the guy's a germaphobe. Hello.
We don't need to. This is not real, John. It's a show, so don't.
The way they put all this together to make anyone watching it think that this is all real. It's backstory, and they're trying to finally somebody's giving us the truth. And so what happens anyway, they find out that one of the other girls that are involved sends a copy of the tape on a USB drive with the word PP, 2 letters PP on there. And everybody in the law office watches it and they all look at it. We don't get to see it, of course. But in the big bright screen, they're all watching and saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And they all watch, and everybody watches, including the one Republican that's at the law firm. And then the Democrat strategist comes back in and says, "This is no good." And so she confiscates the thing. And then, I think she makes a copy, but the FBI then has the deported. The FBI has her sign. I should have clipped this. Now that I think about it. The FBI brings the Russian girl in and has her sign a document saying that this whole thing was a hoax. and she will be deported the minute she says otherwise. Sign here and you won't be deported. Sign here and sign here. And now you've attested that this is the FBI, by the way, telling her to sign these 2 documents. She won't be deported, but if she ever says anything other than it was a hoax, she will be deported. And so she looks back and forth to the lawyers, and the lawyers don't know what to do. And they go, no. They shrug their shoulders. And then she signs, and then they hand over the PP USB drive to Jane Lynch, and they wrap it up and says, good, you can go home. And so they all leave, except now the Democrat strategist or one of the people in the law firms ends up with a copy of it, and they put it in a safe and close the safe, and that's how the show ends. What a crock!
And it's very...
I don't even think this was Lear. This was freelance.
This is modern day propaganda, just like the talking point AOC hates America. This seeps into people's brains. It seeps into their brains, and they remember it, and that's what it is. And before you know it, it becomes truth. And if we're still alive in, I don't know, what should we try?
Let's just say 50 years.
Well, we won't be.
Okay, 20, 10.
I love your mental calculation. Yeah, let's say 10, 20. You ask anyone on the street, oh, yeah, President Trump, didn't he have hookers piss on his bed? I can tell you right now, that's what people will remember. That's how it goes.
Yeah, no, I said it, sorry.
Yeah,
but absolutely, this is exactly where this is going, and it's shameful.
It is.
Shameful of CBS to produce and allow this to be broadcast, even though it's not even on their little channel. But this is really bad, shameful television. That CBS should be ashamed of itself. Now they got Nora, of course. She's the big Trump hater running the news. Yeah. But it's ridiculous.
Oh, man. Well, let's listen to some more nut jobs, shall we? I got some 2020 nutters for you. First, Booker was on Seth Meyers, and this is Cory Booker. He's the Senator Booker, former mayor of Newark, New Jersey, where he did a horrible job, I might point out. At least that's what many say. And he was on Seth Meyers talking about Trump, and he's talking a big game. In fact, he's talking right past Uncle Sleepy Joe.
I was running on an Iowa stage, and we were so psyched, hundreds of people there. I'm about to jump up, and this guy sees me, the former tight end from Stanford University. He's a big guy. He puts his arm around me, and he goes, dude, I want you to punch Donald Trump in the face. And I stop in my tracks, and I go, dude, that's a felony, man. and you know, this Donald Trump is a guy who, you understand, he hurts you, and my testosterone sometimes makes me want to feel like punching him, and which would be bad for this elderly, out of shape man that he is. If I did that, this physically weak specimen, physically weak specimen. But you see what I'm talking there? Even that's his tactics, and you don't beat a bully like him, fighting him on his tactics, on his terms, using his turf. He's the body shamer. He's the guy that tries to drag people in the gutter. And this is a moral moment in America.
I think you can take Cory off the list, John.
He's always been off the list.
This guy
He's always been in tier 2. If you look at the list, which we have, it's up, it's linked in the various newsletters and on Twitter. He's not on the list. I mean, in any real way, he's got no chance of winning anything. And there he is. He bitches about Trump body shaming, and what does he do? Body shame.
Exactly.
I mean, these guys, it's the same thing. You see this constantly. These Democrats are hypocrites.
Well, here's a fun one from our favorite senator. Who's our favorite senator these days? If it ain't Cory, you know who it is.
Maxine Gravel.
No,
she's not a senator.
No,
who's our favorite?
Macy Hirono.
Oh, Hirono. She's who's our favorite idiot senator? You should have said.
Yes. Well, just so you know, she's going to explain the problem. She's going to explain the problem here. Why Democrats have a hard time communicating their ideas. You see, because they well, you'll hear it.
One of the things that we Democrats have a really hard time is connecting to people's hearts instead of here. We're really good at shoving out all the information that touch people here but not here. And I have been saying at all of our Senate Democratic retreats that we need to speak to the heart, not in a manipulative way, not in a way that brings forth everybody's fears and resentments, but truly to speak to the heart so that people know that we're actually on their side. We have a really hard time doing that. And one of the reasons that it was told to me at one of our retreats was that we Democrats know so much. That is true. And we have to kind of tell everybody how smart we are. And so we have a tendency to be very left-brain. And we think really, that is not how people make decisions. So one of the books that I always bring up is The Righteous Mind by Jonathan Haidt.
So she's trying to tell us that the problem is the Democrats are, they don't communicate how smart they are, because they are smart. They're the smartest. This is delusional thinking from this lady.
Right brain, left brain.
This is completely, this is really the problem.
Where the images of an elephant, and the elephant is making all the decisions, go right, go forward, whatever. There's a rider on the elephant. The rider simply explains the elephant's decisions. Republicans speak to the elephant. The Democrats speak to the rider. Oh. That is why we're not speaking to people here, and we're just mainly going here. And it's a huge issue.
What? I think she said, please vote me out. Vote me out of office. I'm insane.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab. Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Well, we do have a few people to thank. But now that you mention it, because I rebooted the machine a while ago, I also blew up the spreadsheet.
Oh, noes.
Which means I got to go find it.
Well, I can get us going while you're looking for that.
Going, and then when I'll jump in when I can.
So these are the producers who have supported the program in the amount of $50 or more, and we do that for brevity in the program, of course. And many people know the deal. Anything under $50 we don't mention, also for reasons of anonymity. So we always like those $49.99s to come in. Kevin Caberna. $150. He says, this gets me halfway tonight. Just a Trump bing bing. Well, we don't do the jingles under the execs and associate executive producers, but I'm sure we'll do that as end of show soon. Julia Honig, $100. Parts unknown in the U.S. Robert Blankshane, also $100. We have Christina Thomas. She's from Drums, Pennsylvania. $100, and she says, good deconstruction last Sunday. That would be the second Thursday. The Google discussion was particularly fascinating. Thank you for helping me stay sane and grounded throughout the day, and looking forward to Thursday's show. Yes, the second Thursday today. Ian Field, $100 from the United Kingdom's Service. I finally got it right. We knighted Service on the previous episode. And he sent in a boob donation, 80008, and he is the Knight of the Jalopies, and we mispronounced his name during the entire course of the program, the last program, because it is spelled VEEC, Service, as in service, service.
A lot of puns.
Yeah, a lot of puns there. We're not Maisie Hirono, okay? So you got to go slow with us and help us understand and give us phonetic explanations. Daniel Volraven, and he's from the Netherlands, Gitmo Nation Lowland, $75, and he says he's now a 10% knight. Very good. James Cole from California, double nickels on the dime. Cool. Double nickels on the dime. Are you ready to pick it up?
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, James Cool, 5510, double nickels on the dime. Darren Christie. In Spokane, Washington, $51.50, which is a rare donation nowadays. It means insane. Charles R. Schultz in Anniston, Alabama, $51. Ian Odom in Weed, California, who sent us the weed. Did you ever get your weed cup mug?
If it went to the P.O. box, I haven't been there recently, so I'm not sure.
Your replacement mug will be on the way soon. So
okay.
You probably haven't.
No, wait, isn't that the mug that mine broke?
Yeah, he sent two mugs to me, and I was going to forward yours, but yours broke.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy how that happens.
Sir Patrick Maycomb in New York City, 50. These are following people are $50 donations, name and locations. Sir Alec Bortok, Pascal Sosef, Alexa Delgado in Aptos, Sir Scott Lavender in Montgomery, Texas, Matthew Byington in Lynbrook, New York, Jesus Allen in Austin, Texas, Mitchell Kaufman in Hillsboro, Oregon, Julian Robbins in Aptos, California, Jorge Alvarez George Alvarez in parts unknown, Joe Winky in Santa Rosa, and boom, done.
Jambo Joe there at the end. Thank you very much.
Jambo Joe.
Yes, yeah,
that is Jambo Joe.
That's Jambo Joe. Yep.
Jambo.
Well, thank you, producers. Short list all around. It is the middle of the summer. We're not even in the dog days yet, but this is what happens. It's is this where we can say it's disconcerting?
Or disconcerting?
It's concerning to me.
It's concerning. Now you're talking.
Well,
it was a lousy showing.
Maybe it was a lousy show.
The newsletter was usually when you do a short newsletter, you do get some response. They got very little. Nobody cares. And I think a lot of it had to do with it. It's Mueller. I got a couple of notes. We don't want to see anymore. This is boring, and this is boring. And I think we did a summary with Adam's thesis on the other guy that nobody else did. And we just do stuff nobody else does.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to toot our own horn, but I will.
Well, it wasn't valued up to par, the work we did on the last show or whatever people thought we'd do this show. Anyway, I do want to thank everyone who did produce the show and did support us. It's highly appreciated, as always. And please remember us for our next program. I mean, really think about us. We're going to be doing another show. We're putting everything we have into it. We're studying stuff all week. Really don't do much else. And please go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
We have no title changes. We have no nights. We have one belated birthday for Ian Larson, July 14th, so I'm not going to start the whole jingle sequence for that. And then we do have
No Agenda Meetup.
Yes, the No Agenda Meetups with a meetup report from the local 719 Colorado Springs meetup. John and Adam, there are about 25 people in attendance, including 4 barons. Sir Anonymous, Baron of the ADFC in Arapahoe County, Sir Scott, Baron of the Bikes, and Baroness Karen of the Blue Moon, and myself. That would be, well, holy heck, who the hell sent this to me? Yes, M. Andrew Jones, Baron of America's Mountain. Let's see. Also, a good number of nights. There was lots of animated conversation and no triggering. It was like meeting up with a bunch of old friends with too much to talk about. Thank you for cultivating such a wonderful and diverse audience. We are committed to meeting up quarterly here in the Springs. Well, very good. Glad you guys had a good time. And this is exactly what... I'm sorry?
That's great. No triggering. I mean, it's true.
No,
in
yeah,
fact,
no
I
triggering.
noticed this with the old Los Angeles meetup when one of the lawyers says only... our gay lawyer, who I don't know if he still listens anymore.
The anonymous gay accountant.
The anonymous gay lawyer. He's a litigator too.
Oh, I thought.
And he
was a different
says,
one.
he can't go anywhere without getting into an argument.
Well, you can, because you can go to meetups. That's where you can talk to people and not get in a triggering argument. And we do have a brief list to discuss. They're all over the world. July 26th, St. Louis and Portland, Oregon. July 27th, Buffalo, New York, and Frisco, Texas. July 28th, Central Florida. August 1st in Seattle, Washington. August 2nd to the 4th in Ravensburger, Germany at the Lot Festival. August 3rd, Orange County. August 9th, Murfreesboro in Tennessee. Chicago, Illinois, August 10th. Southeast London, brand new meetup, Southeast London, August 15th. On the 18th of August, Victoria, British Columbia. The 22nd, Charleston, South Carolina. And August 23rd, Salem, Oregon. Go to noagendameetups.com. That's where you can find out all the details about a meetup in your area. Or if there isn't one, you can start one yourself. And thank you all for your courage in going to these. These are very important. This really is a spin-off product of the No Agenda show that keeps you very sane. Go talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to mention something. The boom in meetups is largely due to the noagendameetups.com website.
Yeah.
We used before that, we all used meetups.com, which I never liked.
Yep.
And meetups.com does not do the job. They have deadlines. You got to RSVP. There's all these mechanisms. It's a terrible way to do it. We have our own system. This is the way we do the show completely. We do the show. We have our own servers for the audio. We have our own. Everything is done in-house in that regard. That's one of the reasons we need the donations. But the point is that if you start relying on these third-party solutions, they don't work.
No, they don't. And then
they do it. They do a job. They do a minor. As a patch in a pothole. Yeah, they work that much, but they don't work in general. They don't do the real job that you want done, and that's the problem with all of these things. I put Patreon on that list too.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the work that the dude named Ben over there at noagendameetups.com has put together for us. It's. I mean, we have so many of these different things running. It's fantastic. I also need to give a special health karma to Ashley Lazari. Matt and Ashley, actually one of the end of show mixes was sent in by Matt today. I heard John talking about his eye surgery last episode and the hilarity that ensued. I knew I had to make a song out of it. So he did. He sent that, but he says on a side note, my wife Ashley could really, really, really use some health karma from the No Agenda Nation. She's a paraplegic who has developed a complication where fluid is building in her spine. It's to the point where it's now affecting her brainstem, so she's going in for surgery August 5th, which will involve removing the rods from her original injury, shaving a part of her vertebrae to hopefully allow the fluid to drain, and reinstalling the rods afterwards. But because of the severity of her symptoms, they want to also make an incision into her spinal cord and insert a drain to hopefully give her immediate relief. So with all the visits to the specialists and doctors, I don't have any extra to donate for value. I try to contribute how I can with end of show mixes, which you did for today. Plus creating them gives me a needed distraction. If you could, please give her some well-deserved health karma. It would be greatly appreciated. And I read this entire note specifically so that everyone who's listening can participate in sending out this health karma.
You've got karma.
All right.
Now, I do have the note from Sir Spud the Mighty,
okay,
which was the $108 make good. And this is why we got confused. It says enclosed find notebooks from the Atlanta meetup on July 13th. Also a donation for the show. Amount is $108, which it makes me sound like it's from the Atlanta meetup, which is 18 times 6 allocated as follows: 2 times 18 towards my eventual baronhood, 1 for Adam, 1 for John, 1x 18 towards the next rank at No Agenda Operations East Sir Bemrose, 1x18 towards next rank for NA Operations East Void 0, 18x18 towards next rank for Den Mother of the Troll Room Spooky R, 1x18 for the lovely Alyssa of Atlanta Local 404. I think the de-douching is an order for her.
You've been de-douched.
That's it?
Enough.
That's
Enough
it?
of that. Yeah.
Attention all human resources. Now entering second half of show.
That's right, everybody. Second half of show is here. Woo-hoo! Yeah, baby, we are ready. I have a new beat, John. I got a new beat. I'm surprised I had not heard of this previously. Just when you thought that the Israeli moon bases couldn't get nutty enough. Oh, no. Did you know, John C. Dvorak, that the birds aren't real?
All right, maybe you've seen the bill.
This is, This is from WREG TV News in Memphis, Tennessee.
All right, maybe you've seen the billboard near the Highland Strip or heard the story on Wednesdays Live at 9. A campaign called Birds Are Not Real brings its efforts to the Mid-South.
And this morning we are joined by one of the messengers of the movement. Peter McIndoe is here to tell us how this all came about. We want to emphasize you were not the founder.
No, ma'am.
So how did you become aware of it? What is the message of the movement?
The
message of the movement is essentially to spread awareness that from 1959 through 2001, the government mercilessly genocided over 12 billion birds and simultaneously replaced them with surveillance drones in disguise that film us every day as equally as these cameras are filming us right now.
Are you with me, John? Are you on board with the program yet?
I'm all in.
So what do you have to back that up?
To back that up, I have as much evidence as the birds have provided. There's so much.
So this is really satire. I mean, you don't really believe that happened, correct? This is a satirical campaign to make the point that what? You're looking at me like, no, it's not satire. I really do believe this.
Honestly, it's kind of offensive.
Okay. So it's not satire.
I don't think you would say that if I said birds are real. You know, I don't know why the other side of the argument can't be treated with equal respect.
Except that before we came out on air, you said this is a satirical message. So what is?
I never said that.
So what point are you trying to make here? I mean, and why did this movement come about and how?
Well, this movement came about in 1976, just to avoid any, liberal media hit job. This didn't start with me. This started in 1976. When whispering started coming about from the White House saying that birds were in the process of being murdered on a mass level. When this started coming about, that's when the movement began. This movement is reactionary. We really didn't start this. The government started this.
Birdsaren'treal.com, everybody. If you want to know more, they've got billboards, they got T-shirts, they've got an entire theory. They were replaced by drones with cameras.
What about chickens?
No, they're pretty real. I just thought this was a
chicken the other day.
I thought this was a fabulous little
now
ditty.
Entering second half of show.
Now exiting.
Well, if you're going to go in this direction, I have a series of clips.
Okay.
That I stumbled on because I didn't realize how the Democrat Party is largely I think a good portion of them are in on this deal here. And let's just start with what I'm talking about is Satanist podcasts.
Oh boy! And I thought I was second half a show. All right.
So let's start with just a generalized Satan podcast, or just so you can get a sense of how these podcasts go. This is Radio Free. I got two of these. This is Radio Free Satan.
We're going to get a little punkish, post-punk when starting off with this show. Going to do a little Joy Division in the Inner Zone right here on the Metro, only on RadioFreeSatan.com.
That sounds like Nick the Rat.
Now here's another one, another Radio Free Satan.
Okay.
And welcome to Confessions of a Wicked Witch. My name is Magistrate Grain, and this is my podcast, Confessions of a Wicked Witch, on Radio Free Satan. We are continuing the year of sin, and I've made it in just under the gun. This was supposed to be available in May, and it is currently May 31st, so it won't be available in May, and you'll get two of me in June. So just think, hey, June rocks. It is the year of sin.
Man, we really messed up that whole No Agenda stream. We misbranded it.
And now, the story that triggered this was what's going on in Canada, but it stems to what's going on in Canada, which is the opening of a satanic temple, and it started with this issue in Little Rock, Arkansas, where they want to put a Baphomet, this horrible-looking thing, at the state capitol, and so they're going to have a satanic temple.
What is it? What is a Baphomet?
It's a big thing with goat head. It's got a goat head and horns and just a horror. Just look it up.
Okay.
It's a horrible-looking thing. But it's a Satan. You worship it. But these guys, half the Satanists in Canada, well, it's not really about Satanism. It's about freeing yourself. So let's play Satanic Temple in Arkansas for starters.
To which I say, Hail Satan.
Agent of Satan!
Birds of a feather flock together.
It's the all or nothing secular approach.
The rhetoric matched the temperature on the steps of the state capitol. A group called the Satanic Temple out of Massachusetts wants this statue of Baphomet put on display on state capitol grounds. They say that since the Ten Commandments are in place, the law should allow them to erect this, and they have a First Amendment right to say so.
We find ourselves here because our elected officials, who may have been voted in by 50.1% of their district, they've failed and forgotten to recognize that upon taking that office, they then represent 100% of that district.
State Senator Jason Rapert spent the rally in meetings at the Capitol. He's sure the Ten Commandments tablets are legal, constitutional, and not going anywhere.
If the Ten Commandments display is good enough for all of those other state capitals and the United States Supreme Court, sir, it's good enough for the people of Arkansas, and we will defend the law.
But Lucian Greaves of the Satanic Temple says the law is on his side.
What the senator fails to mention is that on the same day as that decision was handed down, the Supreme Court ruled against 2 standalone Ten Commandments monuments.
While the arguments appear headed for more litigation, even Christians finding common cause with the Satanists see little room for compromise.
It's a very hard-line thing. Senator Rapert, unfortunately, isn't open to a dialogue about this issue. It's the Ten Commandments monument and none others.
It will be a very cold day in hell before we are ever forced to put up a permanent monument on the state capitol grounds that's as offensive as this group that hides behind fake names as they travel the country.
Well, this is quite a loaded little topic you got here.
And so let's go to the final thing. Now, it had to be clipped down because it's one of those mixed comment and then words on the screen, which is just like, horrid. But this is going on in Canada right now. And I like the Satanist who comes out and he says, Satanism is like, it's not really about worshiping the devil or worshiping Satan.
No, it's
about your inner freedom or something. It's
left-hand path, right-hand path, all that stuff.
No, he doesn't go into that. But it's bad enough that we'll play it.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
I had seen or had heard about the Satanic Temple because they were having a lot of success in the United States, and I realized that there would be a need for this in Canada, or there was a need for this in Canada.
Who would build a statue to Satan?
So we don't worship the devil. We don't believe in a personal devil. We look at the devil, look at the Luciferian character as being representing that eternal rebel within all of us.
Your power is now your own, and you are free to walk your own path.
There's an undeniable rise in more conservative thought. And conservative thought has always been deeply ingrained with tradition, which in turn is often deeply ingrained in the predominant religion. The Satanic Temple has always found it important to actually take on the institutions and the systems that would use tradition and religious freedom to actually promote a dominant religious viewpoint. It turns out that the move to Canada was a positive and needed thing.
Okay.
And of course, what he said there was that all Satanists are Democrats. Did you hear him carefully?
No.
That's what he said. He said all Satanists are Democrats. And he says it's been very successful, the satanic movement in the United States. Well, yeah.
Well,
so, I think this is a bad thing personally.
Yeah, people can believe in whatever they want to believe in, and I really don't condemn it all. What you do not need to do, you do not need to send me an email explaining Satanism and what it is. I've received a million times before. And Aleister Crowley and all that. I don't need to know. You can send it. We're not going to talk about it again.
I wonder how many Satanists are in our audience. I don't think there's many.
I think there's more than. Oh yeah, we have quite a number. That's why.
You mean the ones that have Adam@curry.com as their address book? Are you thinking that the people that have Adam@curry.com on their address book are Satanists?
See, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of them sending me emails.
Okay, well, I
worked for the Satanist MTV, so I know a thing or two. The true Satanists are in Hollywood, and they do sacrifices. And yes, I would say in Washington, D.C., and the examples I know would probably be more Democrat than Republican. There's all kinds of Satanism, crazy worship going on. But it's not this. It's not this. It's not that we want to have a temple. No. There's real evil stuff going on. for sure. But this is just, I don't know, maybe it's a distraction, to make people look like nut jobs. You could never accuse Hillary Clinton of being a Satanist or Satan worshiper or human sacrifices, because that's just crazy talk.
Clippity-clop. So there's dozens and dozens of Satanist podcasts, and it's just like, they're all terrible, by the way, in terms of their production quality. And I just found it fascinating. I just stumbled on it out of the blue.
Yeah, it really detracts from my statement about how hard we work to put this show together. All right, we do have some actual news to discuss. As Bojo, as predicted, it wasn't that hard to predict, is the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdoms of Gitmo Nation East. He has already pretty much fired everybody and has put his new cabinet in place. And this is the clip that was going around of his acceptance speech, the last few minutes of it,
I know some wag has already pointed out that deliver, unite and defeat was not the perfect acronym for an election campaign, since unfortunately it spells dud. But they forgot the final E, my friends. E for energize. And I say to all the doubters, dude, we are going to energize the country. We're going to get Brexit done on October the 31st. We're going to take advantage of all the opportunities that it will bring in a new spirit of can-do. And we are once again going to believe in ourselves and what we can achieve. And like some slumbering giant, we are going to rise and ping off the guy ropes of self-doubt and negativity with better education, better infrastructure, more police, fantastic full fibre broadband sprouting in every household. We are going to unite this amazing country, and we are going to take it forward. I thank you all very much for the incredible honour that you have just done me. I will work flat out from now on with my team that I will build, I hope, in the next few days to repay your confidence. But in the meantime, the campaign is over and the work begins. Thank you all very much.
Well, there you go.
At least he didn't say the extra E is for extra P.
It looks like you can have fiber broadband sprouting in every household. This is fantastic. I'm so happy for them. I can guarantee you he will not get Brexit done.
Well, this is what I've been listening to London's whatever the talk show.
Yeah, LBC.
Yeah, LBC and Nigel Farage.
Right.
And he feels the same way you do. He thinks it's not going to happen. He thinks that the whole thing is designed to keep a general election from occurring before the 31st because
it's something like that. But the
Brexit party would win too many seats. They don't want that to happen. So they're going to do some scamish thing in when the due date comes, some scam.
Yeah, I think Bojo will be the shortest prime minister tenureship in history, I'm afraid.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to go on that. I'm not getting on that.
Well, if they call a general election.
This is why I think Bojo's not in. If you look at his documentary about him, he's not a dumb guy.
I didn't say that.
He will get around this somehow.
I think he has influences in his background that are going to push him towards not making this happen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we got to October 31st first to see what happens. And if they do have a general election and they don't get this done, then the Brexit party will all of a sudden appear as a specter in Parliament that will be nothing but trouble.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, I have a couple of last things. We're wrapping, it sounds like. I got this one. We got to put in the evergreen thing. This is the Obama ignorant clip. I forgot about.
Obama ignorant clip. Is this new? Where's this from? What's the context? Oh, it's just an ISO.
There are white folks, and then there are ignorant motherfuckers like you.
Oh, this is... Yeah, hello, 2009, when this was funny.
Well, while you're saying that, 2009 is another evergreen I want to keep in abeyance, which is another clip I dug up from 2009, which tells it which is the problem with climate change and altogether when it comes to India, for example. And this is the clip where the guy, one of the representatives of India, says, "We're not doing anything. we're going to expand our economic system as much as we can. We're not going to do this. This climate change thing is not a non-starter for us, and people forget this.
India's position is, I'd like to make it clear and categorical, India's position is that we are simply not in a position to take on legally binding emission reduction targets.
Developing countries like India don't want to be forced to slow growth in the name of reducing emissions.
All right, since we're doing classic clips then, I have an Obama clip, a classic for you. This is not 2009, but this is right before the 2016 election. We had the hack of the DNC server. Now remember, it was a hack, right? John, right? Right. It was a hack. It wasn't an inside job. It wasn't Seth Rich or his brother Aaron. It was a hack. And
even though they didn't have the bandwidth for it, but it was.
It was a hack. It was a hack. And so it wasn't leaked from the inside out. No, or, it was a hack. Hackers, Russian hackers, to be very specific, according to Pew CrowdStrike, who was hired. The FBI never looked at the server.
By the way, just as an aside, they had some interview with some CrowdStrike employees on one of the networks, and I was watching it, and it was just a bunch of dumb fucks. It was unbelievable.
You F-bombing today. Crazy. 2 times in a row. So here is Obama talking about that.
Part of the goal here was to make sure that we did not do the work of the leakers for them by raising more and more questions about the integrity of the election right before the election was taking place.
So why would he say leakers if it was a hack?
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Maybe it was out of context.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'll put something into context. I got one more here. I got something for you. This is the latest.
This is a rapper. This gets us out.
Well, we're ending early.
Oh, we are?
Yeah.
Well, I got a longer clip I can play.
But I mean, you're not the keeper of the time, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, you're the keeper of the time.
I know.
But I keep
you
time.
keep saying we're wrapping. You keep saying we're wrapping up. We got another.
Well, that sounds as I can tell by the energy.
Okay. Hey, John, I got a great funny clip about schools in Oregon. You'll love it.
Next tonight, our series 1 in 5, Kids at Risk. Oregon is making a major change to help young people face their struggles. It's become one of the first states to allow students to take mental health days as an excused absence. NBC's Kate Snow with the story.
Oh, yeah. Damn.
Haley Hardcastle and Derek Evans were seniors when they lobbied state lawmakers for a new bill. When Oregon students head back to school, they'll be allowed to call in sick, not just if they're physically ill, but if they need a mental health day.
I think the most amazing part about this whole thing is that it was student-led.
I'm personally in need of mental health days.
Derek told lawmakers he struggled with anxiety in high school.
I'm being marked absent, unexcused, can't make up these assignments because I don't have the willpower to go to school today because it's just too much. And there was no system set in place to help me.
Oregon has one of the highest rates of teen suicide in the country. It's the second leading cause of death for 10 to 34-year-olds in that state. Nationally, suicide is at a 50-year high. Under the new Oregon law, mental health days will be considered excused absences. Students won't be penalized and can make up exams.
Their parents still have to call the school, but now they can be honest about taking a day off to deal with their depression, to deal with a panic attack, to not have to be anxious about not being able to make up work.
Our biggest goal is just making sure that everyone knows that mental health is just as valid as physical health.
There has been some backlash on social media, wondering if kids will take advantage.
Children are already missing school for mental health reasons. The thing is, they're lying about it. We're hoping that this gives them the opportunity to start a positive conversation about what's going on and why they need help.
It's such an interesting idea. How many days could someone take for mental health?
So Oregon law says that any student can take up to 5 days over a 3-month period for any kind of excused absence. And now each school district will be able to revise that as they see fit for their students' needs.
Well, we'll see if it helps. Kate, thank you very much. Justin.
This is the state of our country. And in particular, I think it's the antidepressants. It's all the meds they got the kids jacked up on, and then they get tired and they can't handle it. And they're told, yo, you can't handle it.
I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I think the kids are all drugged up. At the drop of a hat to make them take stuff. They're not mature. They're immature. They're not fully growed until they're at least 21 or older.
Yeah.
And it affects the way they develop. It's the developmental issues is what we're dealing with here.
Well, this is
especially when the kids are drugged up at a very early age before puberty.
Yeah, this is enabling all of this.
Yeah. Well, this is drug companies.
Yeah, but no, this is the news discussing this. No one brings that up. No one said, well, what's going on with these kids? Did you hear that list? They're depressed. They can't get out of bed. I just can't handle it today. Whoa.
How bad is school?
Yeah, really? How hard is it these days? Oh, man. Oh, jeez.
Well, I think the curriculum doesn't help. It's not inspiring. And you got some of these psycho teachers.
Well, the teachers also aren't allowed to teach anymore. They have to follow all this crazy stuff, and they're evaluated on computerized algorithms of.
Yeah, the whole thing's messed up. Homeschool, people.
There's a thought for you. My final clip for today, as we'll let you wind it down with your last one, is once again Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, who is now so afraid of what Bitcoin can actually do to the U.S. dollar and our ability to control finance around the world. He's so afraid, he's now just denying it.
You think we'll be talking about Bitcoin in 10 years from now?
I won't be talking about Bitcoin in 10 years, I can assure you that.
But you might be in at least 6 years. As Treasury Secretary, as you just said.
Exactly. I would bet even in 5 or 6 years, I'm no longer talking about Bitcoin as Treasury Secretary. I'll have other priorities.
You'll be loaded up on Bitcoin and a gazillionaire.
I can assure you I will personally not be loaded up on Bitcoin.
Okay. Never say never.
And now he's just denying its existence pretty much. It'll be gone.
You might be misinterpreting this.
Okay.
He might be privy to some information we don't have.
Okay, continue.
That is going to just basically make Bitcoin illegal.
Oof. Well, you can't make a random string of numbers illegal. What you could make illegal is money changing from Bitcoin to dollars and vice versa. It can be done.
They can make its life miserable. This may be a signal you're missed.
Okay, I just want you to know you cannot outlaw Bitcoin because it's just a hash. It's just a string of numbers. It's nothing. It's not something that can be. Then it's like speech.
No, if you use it to do trade, it can be an illegal currency.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I mean, we used to have all these currencies in the United States that are now they've been made illegal. You can't. I mean, even when Ron Paul supporters built the Ron Paul dollar, if you remember that.
Well, I think they were stamping it and they were calling it. First of all, calling it dollar was an issue. It was a whole bunch of things.
I'm just saying, it sounds to me.
Well, I take that into account what you're saying there, but still, I mean, you can't. It's the exchange of Bitcoin on the internet is unstoppable, literally unstoppable. Exchanging it from one currency into another currency or vice versa, yeah, that could be a problem. Except when you do it on the street in cash, I guess.
No, there's ways around everything, but there are things called black markets.
Oh, totally.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, good catch.
I took it as an ominous warning.
Okay, I'm doubling down. I'm stacking Satoshis, baby.
Yeah, good. I think you should. So I'm watching the KQED News Hour, and they have Brooks and Shields, and I found an interesting clip. It's a little long. Well, how long is it? It's a minute. No, it's only 41 seconds. This is David Brooks, and because I've always been baffled by the fact that although PBS NewsHour has really gone downhill to an extreme, some of it's not even usable. Democracy Now! Gives me better material.
And he has a certain vision of what America is. And his vision, America is xenophobic. Yeah, the good people of the heartland are being threatened by outsiders and by Muslims and by people who don't look like them. It's a vision that is nostalgic, looking backward to the past. And it's a vision of a white America, that white Protestants created this country and the rest of us are here by their sufferance. And this is the national story he wants to tell. And I think it's up to the rest of us to tell a better story about America, that we're a universalist country, we're a country defined by our future, what we're building, and not by our past, and that we're a country that's traditionally had a mission to cross frontiers. And one of the missions we have right now is to create a mass multicultural democracy.
Yeah. This guy, David Brooks, will be gone from television before Bitcoin is gone, okay? I'll tell you that. This guy is overdone and toast. No one gives a shit about him anymore. These people, all of them got to go. Where's the new people? Where's the new opinionated people?
They've been kicked off of Twitter. Now, I wanted to mention the one, he had a couple of things in there I didn't like. Several. But the mission of the United States, when the Union was formed and when we had the revolution to get rid of the British, was never, ever to cross frontiers. The mission of this country has never been to cross frontiers. People have observed, a number of historians have observed that we do it, and you can define the country in the way we think because of it, but it was never the mission. It's just a happenstance.
What do you mean? What do you mean by crossing frontiers?
Go west, young man. Go open up the west. Go to the west. Open up the new frontier. Go to California. Discover gold.
Maybe he's...
Nowadays, move from the Midwest to California and work at a Silicon Valley. Go, go, go.
Maybe he's confused with Star Trek.
Go to the moon. The moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to Mars. This is a happenstance. It's not a mission. People don't know the difference.
Okay, then I have a last 12-seconder for you. What is wrong with this CBS News report, which came on the 50th anniversary of the moon landing? Oh, here we go.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
This weekend marked 50 years since Apollo 11's moonwalkers took one giant leap for humanity.
What's wrong with that clip?
It was a leap for mankind.
Yeah, but you can't say that. That's not politically correct anymore.
So she changed it?
You got to say humanity, baby. Here it is again.
This weekend marked 50 years since Apollo 11's moonwalkers took one giant leap for humanity.
Oh, that is terrible. I'll give you a borderline clip of the day for that, just to end the show in a
note. I'll hold over on it. You'll owe it to me.
Pathetic.
Well, it's been quite the show for those of you listening to us live. We've had some couple
mishaps.
They're called what are they called? Glitches. There you go, glitches, everybody. But we will return on Sunday, and we really hope to have some support. Dvorak.org/NA. And then the following people I'd like to thank for our end of show. We got some Fletcher. We got some Anthony Farmer, we got Matt and Ashley Lazari, and we got Tom Starkweather. And right after the show on the NoAgendaStream.com live stream, the Grumpy Old Bens will be going live, and they have Phone Boy as special guest. Look up Phone Boy if you want to get some No Agenda jingles. And I'm coming to you from the frontier here of Austin, Texas. It is FEMA Region number 6 in the governmental maps. In the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return on Sunday right here on No Agenda. Remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, adios, mofos, and such!
I'm effed. I'm not going to speak to the series of happenings as you articulated them. I have no idea. Absolutely. That was not a hoax. No. No. Yes. Yes. No. I'm not familiar with that. I'm not going to go do that. In those areas, I am going to stay away from. I'm not going to speak to the series of happenings as you articulated them. I can't get into internal deliberations with regard to who would or would not be. No. No. Yes. Yes. No. How many times I what?
Ladies and gentlemen, John C. Dvorak.
Come on, let's have some fun. This is not disgust. Your eyeball really doesn't see as much as your brain makes it see. It's not like LSD level hallucinations. This eyeball situation. It's making images that aren't there. Like a picture. Mm-hmm. Dogs and cats couldn't see that.
What?
Now, two neighbors that live next door to me, two neurologists, they can see an LCD TV.
Mm-hmm.
And my explanation is as follows. And the two neurologists agreed with the theory. Serena Williams, she had 3 arms.
What?
It didn't last that long. She doesn't have 3 arms, so it's a different phenomenon. But dogs and cats couldn't see that. And so I put the 3 arms on the woman.
This is messed up. This is messed up.
And so the one eyeball is doing a lot of interpolation.
Interlaced.
So you see stuff
Interpolation?
that isn't there.
What was that word you used again?
Interpolation. Mimi called me out on it. Interpolate. That's why there's dogs watch TV now. And so it starts to dream stuff up. And so I said, this is not right. To do all these things they never used to do.
I like it.
But you still have the 2 eyeballs working. But you get these semi-hallucinations. Your eyeball put it together. This is one of our... It's turning into a segment.
That was very druggy of you.
What?
Eyeball reset. I can't believe it. The woman had 3 arms. Interpolation?
Mm-hmm.
That's perhaps the most insanest sentence.
Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak bringing it to you twice a week because your mind is under attack from the folks in the media that call themselves the mainstream on the left and the right, but it's all the same thing.
The New Agenda Show with Adam Curry and John C. Dvorak, live every Sunday and Thursday, 12 p.m., 11 Central. On NoAgendaStream.com.
Thank God for these 2 gentlemen right here. They've been killing it for over 10 years. Media assassination and deconstruction. Having to maintain that cerebral function. When your friends see you walking in the mall, they say, damn, your amygdala small. Then you can follow up with formula propagation, convincing them to make a recurring donation to Dvorak.org/NA. And that's the last motherfucking thing that I am gonna say. Dvorak.org/NA. 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 The best podcast in the universe. Dvorak.org/NA. I'm effed.